Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So,
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Right. Motion approved. Citizens requests and oral presentation. Anybody have anything at this point?
But they're jumping up and down here.
Okay, we'll move into general government. A resolution authorizing the issuance of a anticipatory warrant and the borrowing of funds thereunder in the principal amount of the $350,000.
Right, so we have not received confirmation back from the bank authorizing this yet, so you can't take action on it because we don't have authority to. I would recommend a motion tabling the action till the bank authorizes the same. That way, it's not tabled indefinitely and it's tabled to the next meeting when the bank says to us that we in fact can borrow.
But we will have to meet again to,
You will have to meet again to
Authorize.
authorize this, yes, and that meeting might just be just this action. And you could do it completely electronically, you can provide 24 hours notice and do it all electronically, and you can all do a meeting remotely and not come here for that meeting.
okay,
Or we could come here for whoever could, and
Or you could come,
Same
or
as
you
we
can
always do.
divide it and have some of you here remotely and some of you, right,
just like we always have, right?
right, and there's no, it'd be a special meeting to approve it.
I would make the motion that we table it until we get the information from the bank.
Until the bank authorizes the same. Yep.
I'll second.
discussion,
Yes,
have we had any conversation with the bank?
yes, as of around 11:30 this morning.
And what was the nature
They're
of that?
still working on it.
Okay,
They said it's a very complex issue.
okay.
Amen.
Any other questions?
I guess I would add to that, the gentleman that is doing the work on it is working today, but not working the rest of the week, so he informed Gail that he would get as much of the lending work done through today before he was off for the rest of the week, and then hand it off to the next lending individual. So it's my recommendation that Christie and or Gail literally call Bank Iowa every day.
So, Heather, was that the complexity? Was vacation?
I don't
Part of
know,
it.
but could be.
Okay, just curious.
I don't really
complexity?
think, I understand that
They are
the word
saying-
warrant to
they're
them
saying
is a little
complex.
out of their wheelhouse. I understand that a warrant under the code section is a little bit different than what they normally would see.
Okay,
But as far as the lending paperwork, it would all be the same. You're just gonna change the title to warrant instead of promissory note.
Right.
So other than that, I can't explain why it's complex.
okay.
Any other? Do we do a roll call on this or?
Yeah.
Okay,
Wyatt,
Aye.
Sewell,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
Lawson.
Aye.
Rooster.
Aye.
All right, motion carries 5-0.
okay. We'll move into item B, discussion possible action fiscal year 26 budget. So we have it in front of us. All except for, I think the fire department's yet is not, your updated figures are not
In here yet,
in here. Okay,
with you.
okay.
How do we want
right.
to start?
Yeah, that's a good question. We just start with, just going with each, department. So we'll start with the police.
Did you already change? You didn't change
One
it
minute,
after the-
correction, police one.
What?
Uh-huh.
On the what, first page?
Yeah, it's, everything needs to be moved up on it. If you look over the uniforms, we have 0. I think, Chris, if you want to make sure that it should be 3,500.
I double checked that like 3 or 4 times, and that's what it was in the spreadsheet that you submitted. But I can move everything up, but.
Yeah.
So you're
Because
saying,
it doesn't change.
so development training should be 88,000.
8,000 and then, yeah.
Okay.
And then gas should go up to 25,000.
Okay, so then if that's the case,
Second page looks good, I just don't. Don't know what I put back to you. I think it's done.
there's gonna be a spot that's 0 for blank.
Yeah, that's vehicle maintenance.
Oh, okay, on the first page,
Yeah,
okay.
I think it was on second page on the first copy, and now it's on first page.
So what is vehicle maintenance?
We don't know
Zero.
that yet.
Okay.
which vehicle maintenance should be lower, but they're probably being moved.
So the second page is all okay.
Looks like it's good.
So. In 23-24, you had 15,000 for vehicle maintenance. Or 24-25, and you've spent 10,257 so far.
Yeah, I think the biggest purchase out of that was the transmission for the truck. The truck.
Okay. So you don't remember what you put in there? Was it another 15 or was it 10 or?
I want to say it was 15. Oh, cool.
So vehicle maintenance I have as 25,000 is what is on your, what is on the spreadsheet that you submitted.
Okay, so that should go in the bottom. Which I think we can, subtract some more, so their vehicles being newer.
Okay.
I think just tires and oil changes probably be the best, the worst area to do.
Okay, so so the uniforms should be 3,500.
Yeah.
Okay,
Uniforms, I have 3,500, sorry.
okay, and then, so then what,
Development training was 8,000.
yeah,
Vehicle
everything
operations,
on the
25.
spreadsheet that you submitted is.
I think maybe if I put it in the wrong category.
Yeah, you did,
Okay,
yeah, so all I did was take what you submitted and stuck it in my spreadsheet.
what did I put down for the,
In what you submitted was 25,000.
okay, which I think we can feel like that.
So is it 25? Cause you had 10 for this year right now with 15 last year.
So where you at, Chuck?
That last line on page 1, vehicle maintenance,
Yes. So
that number should be different, right?
well, according to estimate, Chrissy, because I didn't bring my copy with me. She has me at 25,000 there. So I know gas needs to be about 25,000.
Yep.
Which that could be different if we go back to Cedar Falls.
Which that's fine. I mean, but. What do you think? What do you want? What do you think you need for vehicle maintenance?
Thanks.
What'd you say?
Well, because we just put. new tires
Last year
on-
last year you put 15,000 in it. I mean,
Put new 2 tires on 2 cars, got some Hager's. Oil changes by a year, if not 3, and that's $80 per oil change.
we put 15 in there, you're comfortable
Be
with that?
safe, 15 to be safe.
Okay. You don't need 25?
No.
Okay.
So is that gonna affect the bottom, the total?
It should affect it by 3,500. Nope.
No. Because you put 15 also,
Yeah, it'll affect it by 15,000.
15 and the 35.
No,
15
35 was already in, 8 was already in, and 25 was already in.
by 15.
So it should be, 25, 8, 35, and so it'll affect it by 15,
So move those bottom 3 up 1 and put 15,000 in the bottom one.
correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So that takes us to the entire budget for, the expense of 7 something. So you're at 696, 128 plus 15, right?
What's the 15?
Onto it.
Was that the amount that they were to get to?
Page, flip over, the next one. So expenses to the.
Yeah.
Okay,
696 down there. Wherever that was.
In fact, I think.
so then the total would be 701, 128,
711,
711.
128.
Gotcha.
711, 128.
And that was then to the amount that they were okay. That we had asked them to, okay.
The next one's what, emergency management?
Before we move off that, I just wanna make sure I'm understanding this correct.
Mhm.
24-25 budget. The police department net. They're on page 2, the first green line. There's
Mhm.
-397,949,
Correct.
meaning
That
What?
They went over.
That their expenses were that much more than the revenue that they brought in.
okay,
Or that was the budgeted.
yep.
That isn't actual, that's just, that's budget.
So over here now. What's the net?
The net is,
Something.
it'll be 5, you'll have to add 15,000 to the 400.
So -510,
419.
okay. I'm not trying to be difficult here, but just hear me out. So. The police department, Danny, if I'm correct, is proposing. That we pass a budget this year. That is. $113,000 more. In the red than last year. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, correct. And so, one thing that's not there, that was there last year is speed camera revenue. But last year we didn't budget for the full amount, knowing that,
Well, we weren't gonna budget for any of it ever, but it got in there somehow.
So I guess,
But
So if you look at, Matt, if you look at what's budgeted for 2024, and you look at where they're at through December 24th,
yep,
it's pretty close to their budget right there, so 2024, 2025 will be over. Well, however you wanna say that, their
I-
budget will be higher, the
Yeah.
budget will be lower than actual.
so I guess I don't wanna, we're probably not gonna go through every little item with this much detail or conversation. But given the circumstance that we're in,
could they cut another?
is that,
Yeah, and that's something that we have to realize too, is that you guys get to make the decision. If there's something that, you don't wanna approve, that's up to you. I mean,
One other
it would
question,
take a majority, obviously.
where is salaries? That's not in this.
salaries isn't.
This is in here,
Yep.
which is under
It's, so if you go to the first page.
It's in that purple block.
purple box, thank you.
to your point, Gail, I certainly wouldn't put myself out there as having the knowledge that Danny and Scott do, or
Yeah.
Chief and Sergeant do with regard to each line item. I don't know what they need and what they don't. I'm just talking with broad brushstrokes.
Right.
Can
and
we sit here and approve that number?
Mhm.
I
Right,
mean,
right, I
look,
understand that.
$113,000 more of $400,000, that's a 25% increase. Or it's, right, it's a 25%
But was that based on
greater,
speed cameras? Was the
What was
difference?
their- Time out, what was their expenses budgeted total for last year without revenue?
That'd probably be a better way to look at it.
or, or or what was the previous year what's the most recent year without speed camera revenue? What were the costs? And then somebody else already mentioned this, the speed camera money was never
Supposed to be in there.
supposed to be part of the
Mhm.
calculation. That was always kind of gravy is the way I was told.
But remember, we're still bringing that revenue in on traffic fines as well.
Right, there's gonna be revenue in there, we
Yeah.
get that. But
mean-
basically, we're looking bottom dollar
Yeah.
where we're at, trying to figure out how to get to X.
Yeah.
So it may not be a apples to apples comparison on cutting, you know, if your budget is 1 million and we gotta get to this,
Mhm.
and this budget's 200,000 and we still gotta get to this, who
Also,
has the bigger cut, you know? We don't wanna cut anybody, but got to.
you mentioned traffic fines there. For this current year, it was budgeted 396. Is that including traffic camera money? Is it $396,000, and we're at 88,000 of that through 7 months? So I mean, we're way off schedule on that deal. So whatever fine money we're gonna get is not gonna be a lot.
We're gonna be further down.
Anyway,
So the expenses that were budgeted for 24-25, which is the current fiscal year, was 912,999.
Okay,
Compared to the 7-Eleven one, right?
so yeah, if you figure what they were spending last year compared to what they're spending this year, they cut 200,000 out of their total expenses, but our revenue is down that much too. Which we, you know, isn't their fault, but it's still gotta be taken into account. You know,
So they're down from what they budgeted. 200,000.
yep. But further in the red than what they
Right,
budgeted.
because of the revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I just want to make sure I was understanding that right.
that's a better comparison number to me too, though, where they've, you know, expenses to expenses stuff.
Hey, Danny, one question for you, just out of curiosity. 2024-25 payments to other agency was budgeted 40,000. This budget year, 25-26 is 5. What changed? I mean, you haven't spent it in this partial budget. So I just wonder what made you change that number so
We paid the 911, we paid the county for that. I know we're having expense coming up. With, everybody's countywide, we're switching to another, service. It's called Central Square, it's supposed to be easier than what we're using, which is called Showware. Judy, the head dispatcher, gave me a number on that one, and I don't. Talking when it's sort of weird, I don't know if that money comes out of a different place strictly.
The quarterly payment that goes to the county, for EMA, for emergency management, is coming out of the emergency, the 001130.
This down here, this,
Yeah. That's the second.
the 58,921, and now it's 62 this year. Didn't the county take over some of that 911 payment? Then they had talked about it at one point and they just never did. Is that what happened?
And I think that's still a discussion.
It's still a discussion. Mayor Loddick is, working on that. Yep.
I'm guessing they don't want it.
It was a discussion before, Sheriff Thompson retired.
Got it. Okay. So,
We're not part of the, Aegis, myself, Dr. Ned. I think another agency, we're gonna start paying that, once again, I don't know, if it was Judy can tell me that.
but that's what's coming out of the EMA fund?
I just knew something was being paid.
Yep.
So it could be
Elsewhere.
Okay,
So,
oh, perfect.
And then on the next one down, technology, technology software. You had 6,000, what are we changing to 13 this year?
we're on the front page still?
We're on the second page,
Second page.
Halfway down.
6419, technology software.
That goes for our cloud space with, our cameras. We have to pay for our cloud space, I believe our tasers, go under equipment, technology equipment, I believe.
There's an equipment purchase for 10,000.
Yep.
You had 20 last year, so I'm assuming technology software should be computer software related?
Yeah,
Or cloud storage would make sense.
storage is,
It's cloud storage for our body cameras and our taser.
Your taser has cloud storage on it too.
it's a dash cam.
Okay.
Yes, every time
It
every
goes
time
off.
our taser's deployed, it is recorded.
Makes sense.
We dock batteries, it goes into storage.
But did we change something that we're doubling that from last year to this year is my question?
No,
But if you look at the actual Kate,
Yeah, we've
the
already spent
actual-
58.
yeah, I mean, they're gonna blow that 6,000 all the way.
We did change because we had to expand our retention time on our videos.
Okay.
Because we ran into a couple instances with court still being backed up from COVID,
And the video being gone.
videos
delete it.
Got it.
being automatically deleted. We had to
Okay.
extend our
Okay.
retention raised our cloud storage space.
You know, like I said, I don't want to go line by line necessarily, but there's just some of these that have
Those are the ones
changed.
that really changed.
You know, the other professional service went for, we've only spent $1,000, we've got 10,000 for next year. Again, are these nickel and diming things, but do they all add up to where we're at? Yeah, you know, so we need to make sure, because again, you guys have got the highest budget in the whole city. You know, that's the fact. No, it is what it is, it's public safety. You know, and we may have to cut that even more.
Yeah.
So don't think this is fun. Okay.
Okay.
I'm good.
Good there? Okay. All right, the next one we move on to is emergency management.
We just talked about that.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
So 001 150, that's fire.
Okay,
So we're down to,
we're on page 3
So you're on page 3,
at the very top, and that starts
this
the
is
fire
fire.
department.
and then it goes to, the top of page 4.
Okay,
okay.
Yep.
All right.
okay. So, gentlemen, what do you have for us? Do you have like a overall amount, or do you wanna, do we
If you wanna know where we cut it from, I got that,
say that again now?
cut out 23.5.
Okay,
Do you have,
so that would come off of the 174, is that correct?
Total budget 136.75,
Okay,
so I think it's out of 113.75.
okay.
was that, is that ambulance too or just fire?
Okay, say that again. I'm sorry, 113.
113.875,
Okay,
and that's not including the truck that we have coming up with, it's 370. We just took that completely out, because that comes out of our reserve.
160 account, 160 is ambulance, right? That's it.
Yeah.
160.
Thanks. I just wanted to see where this one ended.
do you guys want to know which lines they cut, or are you,
My only question is on here, and maybe this is a Chrissy question. Where do I see 136,875 and 113,875? Or don't I?
You do not. Because
Got 370 out of there.
Yeah,
Got it.
It's coming out of reserves, not out of the actual budget that we're asking for.
Got it.
are we good? Move on to ambulance?
yeah, do you have your numbers? I'll take them when you're done.
Or if not.
ambulance side, not so much luck on cutting stuff, so.
Oh, yeah. Oh, oh.
So do you have a number then for us for, okay,
May not have it with me. I do. The payment. Ambulance, we cut out 78. So we were at 133,625 and moved down to 125,825.
125,825 is your total expenses. After revenue,
I have no clue what our revenue will be.
I'm confused here, Christie.
So they're talking just expenses.
Okay, but I only had ambulance net totals expense total as 37,311. So that's the 32, wait. I'm confused here.
Ambulance, yeah, I only have. Maybe.
We don't have the revenue.
I have total expenses for the ambulance as 72,311. So I'm not sure. I don't know where that 125,825 is at.
And you said you got it down to what?
And you cut out
Cut
7,800.
out $7,800.
Okay.
Where did you cut that from on the ambulance side?
So wages was one,
So just because I need to educate,
training, we cut out some. And some of the ambulance fee stuff, we finagled something there. So that'd be like, getting utilities and stuff like that.
okay, how do you cut, no, just because I wanna know, cause I know ambulance calls get paid per call, correct? Not for the paperwork like fire side?
Right, we raised it up, we're lowering it down,
Okay,
back to the way we were. So
Okay.
we were paying $5 for the drivers. 15 for the backup EMT, 25 for the EMT that wrote the reports,
Uh-huh.
because by the time you get done doing reports, it's
an hour.
hour and a half plus the call, so you got 2 hours of your time. So we just doubled basically all that, so it's not that bad,
For this year only, so far.
so.
So we figure out how to, yeah,
And then we had put in a deal for all of us, because when was the last time we had a pay increase for any of the captains?
right.
Never, and we finally decided to give everybody extra $100, and we took that all out local. So. Years ago.
$100 annual, monthly, what was that?
That was annually.
Okay,
Yeah, we don't get paid
Annually.
monthly,
No.
I knew you didn't, but that's why I was like,
so I don't know, captains get $675 and we bumped it up
captains get $675
a year.
A year.
for all of it that you do.
All that we did, and we bumped it up and we just took it away. So
So
now
on
both
this,
fire and ambulance.
on that spreadsheet, if you run down through those numbers, we don't have a total of in the 25-26 proposed budget. Gonna be just about 100,000, 100 and change is what that spreadsheet adds down to.
Well, the one that I got, I mean, we added it up a couple times, I mean, those numbers.
No,
we got.
rightfully, so I'm just
But
saying,
yeah,
we're looking at.
overall budget, $7,800 is what we could cut from the ambulance side.
Okay, what was your, and can you, I'm sorry, can you go back to what was the final total expenses for fire was 113,875.
According to what we had.
13.
13 or 15?
13.
13.
And that one we got about 23,500 out of that.
Okay,
And that was taken away. Let's see, 18. Building maintenance, which our building's over 20 years old, we cut out $8,000 out of that.
yeah,
And we got doors that are going bad, we got garage door openers that are going bad.
Yeah.
So,
so 113,875 was your total expenses for 25-26 for fire. And then plus,
that didn't have
any reserves in it.
No reserves.
So plus you had asked for 225 too, for reserve.
Right.
Okay. Plus the 72. So we're at about 200,000. 190 between the two of them, between fire and ambulance. for expenses, right? 113 and 72,
Should include reserves in that.
and then reserves on top of that, yeah.
Chrissy, will we see all that they're talking about in this format here eventually?
Eventually, yes. I
Okay.
will update, since I didn't have the numbers to plug into this.
Yep.
I will update all of that and change the things as we go through it, change everything that needs to be changed, and I will send out a clear
Great.
copy of it before.
And you're 72, 311 for ambulance, you would ask for 25 for reserve, that's not in there either, correct?
Correct, that's no reserves.
So technically with the 25 for reserve ask, you'd be at 97, 311.
Because those are our reserves come from the township trust.
No.
Just for the fire side.
Yeah.
That's as far as. I-
So if you were to add reserves, you'd be 97, 311. Is that right?
Because we just got, we don't have any purchase for.
I just want to make sure I've got the numbers right that I'm looking at too.
What'd you say we had for?
You had requested for ambulance 25
25,
on
yeah.
here. Okay, so with the 72, you'd be at 97, 311.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. That's what you're asking.
Well, our ask would be.
For ambulance?
We had it at, according to this, our budget was for 133,625. We cut out $7,800.
Okay.
I'm just going by what I
No,
had.
you're good. Okay. I got it.
Numbers match yours then or not?
Not completely, but,
33 does not.
the 125 doesn't.
For me, I just, whenever Chrissy gets those and puts them in and I can see them this way, I mean, like, it's hard for me to imagine what you're talking about without seeing it here, and I don't think that's your fault. I don't,
No.
And I think that spreadsheet.
I don't need to see that right
The
now.
way that our system does it is that it adds everything together. It doesn't distinguish between revenue and expenses. So that may be where,
We don't see anything for revenue.
I mean,
No, it's on here, it's just separate this way, so you're good, you're good. And he's got it split out 2 pages, so it's just goofy. but-
what I'm taking away until I see them in the format that we have in front of us is that you guys are,
Yep,
I mean, you
you've got where
tighten
you
the
can.
screws as much as you can. We appreciate that.
Okay. Anything more? Okay, the next one is going to be building inspections. And he pretty much generates enough, more than enough revenue to cover the expenses for that, so. He will be on the plus side of 296.
Hold on,
so you'll be
What
at
page?
the bottom of page 5.
Before the,
oh yeah, sorry.
what's that?
So he start 210?
Nope, he is
Nope.
170.
70,
Oh, he's up here 170.
Yeah. right,
What you said.
At-
Oh,
bottom of page 5, yeah,
Yeah.
right
And
here
if
starts
we
building
have
inspections.
the
Okay.
building-
Okay.
If we don't have the building permit revenue, then
So that one should wash itself.
Well, so here's a question I have about that. Is just because it'll wash itself doesn't necessarily mean we couldn't cut some expenses and make some money. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm interested in, if there's a category that's like this, but we could still cut some expenses and come up with some black numbers to cover some other red numbers, I'm for that.
So, in looking at this, we would cut, development and training by half.
Where are we at here?
On the
You're on the top of
Page
page
six.
6.
Up here.
So we could cut that in half.
page 6, there you go.
That's the problem.
And that, I was just gonna say we could cut that in half. Well, that's mileage for him to do inspections, any of out of town meetings or anything like that. That's the line item that comes out of.
Okay.
So we could probably cut that to 4,000,
The travel one?
that one as well.
Oh, 4, or did you say half?
Well, I first said half, but I think maybe
Well,
two.
Is he due for some certifications or?
That would come out of development and training.
Okay,
He's a lifetime achievement member.
I
Can't he be
know.
certified and just be done with it? So you're saying there's 12,000 there. You're saying we could get by with 6,000 between development
60
trailing and travel?
6,500.
Yeah, 60.
Yeah.
2,500 and
You
4,000.
could cut development and training, to 2,500. And
Travel to
then
4?
travel to 4.
Because right now he's at 2,300. That would put him at 4,600 approximately by the end of the year. So I would rather, I mean, obviously nickel and dime at 5,000 seems more because
Okay.
mileage went up.
It did.
You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's not like we're gonna have less expense for mileage unless we can find a way. Is there a way that we have a city vehicle that he should be driving rather than
Then personal.
a personal, so we're not expensing so much mileage?
If we drop a car, you can take one of our cars.
Yeah.
Which will
The
be.
one thing I'm gonna say is you're looking at an overall budget of $5,000 a year to pay him to drive his car. Throw maintenance in that. and
Oh, I agree.
that, One of our cars in insurance. And you're probably gonna have more money in having a car sitting here for him than just paying him the mileage.
Why was there such an increase in technology software for that, do you know?
Because we are going to a new GIS system that is, all on the cloud that we can, so when, building permit application is filled out, then it goes onto a GIS map of the entire city, so you can see where active building permits are and what the status of all of that is. We approved that a couple years ago, and they're just now getting to the point that it's hopefully gonna be implemented before too long. So, and I think that was an ask.
So that'll be an annual expense, correct?
The only thing that will be the annual expense is for the license.
Okay,
And that is, yeah, it's $1,500, but it's split between 5 departments.
Because that will work into our
That's right.
water, sewer,
Yeah,
everything else
yeah,
with
Yeah,
that too,
put it
correct?
all in that too.
okay.
Back to the mileage thing, I hear you with that. How can we explore what we can do with that though in order to, can we make, because Steve would already be on insurance purposes as an employee, correct?
Correct.
So
Yep,
it's
and the
not like there's
vehicle's already
increase,
And that car is
I'm
already
talking-
insured because it's a car you already own.
right?
So that, you're not gonna have increased insurance costs to have him use one of the police vehicles. The question is whether or not you are gonna be having maintenance costs on that vehicle that you didn't otherwise contemplate. How old is that car?
122,000.
How far does he drive when he does inspections? It's within the 2-mile
Right.
radius of
I
here.
thought you thought.
Yeah.
That car dies somewhere, it's not hard to pick him up.
Right? I don't know, I mean, again, we're nickel and dime, but all these small things are what's adding up at this point.
Mileage rate's not going down.
No.
It went up, just went up again.
Yep,
Isn't it over a buck
Is that
now?
car
No,
gonna?
it's 70 cents.
Is that car gonna just be sitting doing nothing anyway?
Try to sell it.
How much can we sell it for?
Probably 7,000 tops. That's what we got out of the car, the K9 car that looks just like.
And what's your mileage budget? 5,
Yeah, 7,000.
so you sell the car, you might make $2,000.
Gotta pay for fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Which we're already paying for though in the mileage,
Well, I'm just saying.
You still gotta buy gas.
right?
Yep.
Right, yeah. Because
Now
he's
you have
turning
to-
in, I mean, it's in, gas
What I was
is
getting at with
included in his
insurance, if we're
mileage.
gonna get rid of that car, you're gonna have a car drop off policy, so you're gonna save money on that too.
That's true.
So right now, we've saved $4,500,
65.
6,500?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, throwing
Okay.
ideas out here.
And yeah, and we've talked about that as having a car.
Talked about that for
Just for
years.
other, not just building inspection, but
Correct. A city of
for
Hudson vehicle.
a city vehicle so you're not putting wear and tear on a personal vehicle.
Right.
For anybody, that would be a city employee, so like council or, yeah, anybody.
Our permit fees and stuff, pretty on par with the norm? Is there any way to increase revenue?
The only way you could increase revenue would be to change your building inspection or change your building permit fees.
Okay,
Are those on par with what everybody
That's
else
what-
is having?
Oh, yes, yeah.
I mean, are we low? Are we high? Are we?
I think we're right in the middle. I haven't looked at it in a couple of years.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say it's
think
been a
George
couple
and
years.
I-
2 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did an
Okay.
analysis.
I think, just like we do an RFP with anything else, we should be keeping an eye on those.
Mhm.
Because if we don't ever increase them, everybody else is increasing them, that we don't need to be the highest, but we don't need to be the lowest
Right,
either,
yeah.
you know?
Cause they were changed.
Cause we're continuing to give him a raise and whoever else a raise with that, we
Right.
need to increase our cost to keep up with that.
Yep.
Revenue has to match that.
But yeah, we
I think
did,
it's 3 years ago.
was it 3 years ago?
So if we could, that's one thing to put on a agenda, and I think that falls under public safety, doesn't it? To do an RFP on permit fees with that, doesn't building inspector fall under public safety?
Correct. Yeah, so like
What do you mean
an
an
RFP for what?
Or, not an RFP, but like a market study,
Yeah,
that's what
I
I'm
think,
sorry.
I think that's have her come back to you all with an agenda item, discuss potential raising of permit fees. And then she gives you an itemization of all of the towns approximately your size and what they're charging for building permit fees.
Perfect. That's what I meant to
Yep,
say.
that'll be really easy for
And
me
I-
to do, cause I can just get on ClerkNet or other listservs that I'm on and just say, hey, what are you guys charging?
And
that'll be really
I
easy to-
believe we also looked at Cedar Falls and Waterloo,
Yeah, we
right,
should.
at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find that,
Thank you.
cause if we did it, I know we did, I'm sure we have it
I might
somewhere,
have it buried on my computer.
and I probably have it too, so.
How many
I'll-
icons do you have on your desktop?
Okay, next is street department, I believe.
Do we need fire guys here anymore since we're past theirs? All right, I just didn't want
Make
you
sure
to
to leave me numbers.
sit here and stare at us if you don't wanna be here.
Okay,
That way you can.
I can go make a copy.
I was just gonna say,
I'll just give her a copy quick.
I'll just make a copy.
You're Jared speak.
I have children that don't know how to write.
I worked for bosses that didn't know how to
I
write.
still do.
Yep.
Hey Chad, good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. I thought you were retired.
Question is,
Oh, that was-
Oh,
Thanks, gentlemen.
you two have to stay. I didn't give you that option, so.
The voices in my head will tell me when I need to. She's not very subtle today.
You welcome to my club. Get a massage. I know, but that's like, go get a massage.
I got a
No, when you
massage
come in,
scheduled for Monday morning. Do you?
Where?
Monday morning at Takora Massage, Kimball Avenue, Waterloo.
Oh, I guess.
They're awesome.
Sunshine chiropractic.
Do they do massages though? I thought they just did
I'm
chiropractic.
trying something new, a bamboo massage. You ever heard of
Might
that?
have to check it.
Yeah, me either. I've done hot stone massages, but this is new, some kind of bamboo tools that help get to the deep tissue. See, my husband had this neck surgery, so I've had to do the shoulder. And I'm feeling it so bad.
How much,
Back is so sore.
I've already, I'll see some more.
You see me walking like a little old lady, it's because I feel like that.
Okay.
All right, so up next is the street department then.
Okay,
Near the bottom of page 6.
okay, one moment. There we go.
Yes, yep. The, starts with the Middle of page 6, yes?
Yeah, the middle of page 6. That starts there at the purple box.
Hey,
Tell me what we did on street maintenance.
Okay, we cut 115 out of street maintenance.
And we pulled that from what? What'd you pull that? What are we not doing?
We're gonna lose some asphalt work and we'll go back to doing more seal coating.
So,
We'll be doing less mastic repair and crack sealing.
hold on. This is the three, you had asked for 185.
No, that's the.
You had
That's
asked
the
for,
new-
what?
300.
300. We're down to 185.
Oh, this is the update. Sorry, I'm going back to this one. Okay.
Yep.
So you pulled out down from 300 to 185, but you've already spent 324 this year.
Yeah.
Why are we so far over this year?
There's been quite a few things that were over this year. For one, the crosswalks, which was approved through.
Yep.
Public
Public
Works,
Works. Yeah.
Public Safety. The crosswalks on Primrose, the ADA ramps on Washington Street,
There's another change too.
But with those, did we look at pulling that from like where else we're gonna be? Like where we could pull that from in our budget instead of just adding to it? You know what I mean? Because we're over 24 and we've got 6 months to go.
So the majority of my budget is weird because.
Right, cause it's spent a lot in
majority
the
of my budget
summer.
is over by August.
Sure.
I mean, I
So-
would say over 3/4 of my budget's gone.
Do you know, and this is just a general question, about what percentage is left to spend, like, projects that you've got coming up from now through the end of
I
June?
won't have any roadwork projects. The only thing I would have would be gravel road between now and July.
Okay, so do you think that that number in the whole scheme of things, you will at the end be on budget or still over budget by the
This
end of the
year,
year?
we're gonna be over budget by the end of this year with those changes we did.
Right, but do we know about, I mean, cause those two, I think what was it, 50,000 for the crosswalk? And it was another 50 or 60 for the ADA, right? So those are about 100. But are we expending the rest of our budget so that we can't make any ground up on any of that? I mean, like,
The other thing, we had a lot of big things come out of streets this year because that dump truck we ordered 2 years ago.
we had to finally pay for it?
Showed up this fiscal year. So that was another big one.
Could you make it not snow for the rest of the year?
That'd be fantastic.
Or next
Yeah, that
year?
would be awesome. I'm tired of shoveling.
The biggest expenses we're gonna have the rest of the year will be wages. Fuel depending on snow and some maintenance items. As far as road work is done until July. We will do road work prior to July, but our contractors know we're on a fiscal year, July to July, so then they request to get paid after July 1st.
So Jake, you know, we had a pretty good schedule. You had a nice map put together, how we were gonna progress forward. Taking that back and seal coating, how far does that put us back on that map?
You're gonna lose 3 to 4 blocks of asphalt a year. Which we'll have to do. We'll do a little different style patching than we have in the past. But like I said, we're gonna go back to a lot more seal coat. It's just, it is what it is. Seal coat at least seals up the road, somewhat levels it out. Or we're looking at having a bunch of potholes.
Did you have alley maintenance scheduled for this coming up year too?
Just we'd haul a little gravel in about 1,500.
Like we normally do?
Yeah,
Okay.
not a lot.
Don't gravel one of them.
On the street lighting, what did you say?
So street lighting, that is at 55,000, that should be 25,000. So we need to shave 30 off that.
Utility street lighting?
Yep.
Yep, it's the 001230. And are the other ones okay?
Yeah, everything else look okay, so we
Okay.
shaved.
I must have fat figured
That's
that.
okay. We cut 115 out of street maintenance. We cut 20,000 out of contracts, which typically that was used for street maintenance types of things, whether we use it towards our seal coating or we use it towards our ADA ramps. I mean, that was kind of a,
Again, we're way over on that one right now
yep,
too.
yep. And then
Way over 20.
we cut on vehicle reserves, we cut $100,000 out of that reserve.
What's minor equipment that you cut by half that you haven't spent anything on yet?
Minor equipment is if we need something rather than hand tools, like a new set of bristles for our broom, new skid loader bucket, something small like that. That's not,
But that's not coming out of what, vehicle upkeep or whatever we're calling that, operational equipment maintenance.
so like minor equipment, this year we purchased a little grader for the front of our skid loader for alleys. That's what we.
But that's not on there yet, cause we
It
haven't,
might have been out of last year's, I guess.
as I said, cause it says 0 expended right now. Is that correct, Chrissy? You know which one I'm on, 210-6504?
Yeah.
I'll get here just a second.
And we used it up 1 year to buy a postal auger for the front of the skid loader, putting signs in. Small things, nothing huge.
March Madness.
Yeah, so I show that, $1,096.72 was spent. Probably sometime after December 16th, or
Of this
after
year?
December. Yeah, of
Last year.
24.
20,
So
This
did you-
fiscal year.
So it'd be.
this is as of December 30th,
Yes,
they expended, or through the 24th, she said, no, yeah, the end of December.
Okay, so you, sometime in January of this year, like
Mhm.
now it's February,
Yep.
last month, you spent $1,100 on something.
Right.
Okay. That's okay. And people are expecting championships. We heard that. Get there, will you?
What's the Indiana fever? Priority.
And then snow operating supplies. That one's gonna be potentially over this year because Cedar Falls did not bill us for our salt until like August or last fiscal year.
Hmm.
So I don't know if they're gonna do that again, how they're gonna do that.
How much do we pay for salt to Cedar Falls? Approximate.
Approximately a year, 15 to 20,000.
That much? That's a lot
Well,
of salt.
that's sand too.
Okay.
I'd have to look and see.
No, that's fine.
But we're using between 180 and 300 ton depending on the.
So you're saying out of this 15,550, that was last year's salt and sand.
They didn't bill us till this fiscal year.
Well, they're on fiscal year too, so their billing might come in that way. Has it always historically been that way, or
Not
have
to
we?
my knowledge, I think that was on their accounting department.
So then we would have been over last year, we would have been
Under.
ahead of the game revenue wise. By that 15,000 or whatever it is. Not that it matters much at this point in my life anyway, right? But, okay. So are you sure though, because you're only asking for 15 now, is that gonna be
I
in,
mean, if I could have more, I'd like more, but if we gotta make cuts.
well, but you're gonna have to pay for it either way. That's what I'm saying, is that if it's gonna come in more, you can't budget less knowing that it's gonna come in more. And then,
I was
be like,
trying to
oh,
cut
what
this
else to
amount
do?
of dollars and that's where I can cut it from. So,
well,
it's
and,
not necessarily where I can cut it from, but it's, we're gonna use less salt or we're gonna have to.
right,
So-
and so, and in my calculations, I had $30,000 more
And
because
so
that
we can
that
potentially
street
put
lighting
that
was,
back.
that
I
street
mean-
lighting number was wrong.
like I said, I get that you have to cut this dollar amount. But again, we have to budget accurately too, because if it comes in at 30,000 and we only have 15, we gotta find the 15 somewhere else.
With
So it
that
doesn't
being
do us
said,
any good.
if my numbers were where they needed to be and we were 30,000 over on street lighting, I'd like to have that budget of 25,000. is where I'd like
So
to be.
what you want in operating supplies, snow,
No, it would be
is 25. Okay, now. Because that doesn't mean that we can't, like contracts, you could go to 42 there instead of 45.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
somehow we gotta make that up. And even if we've got new projects and this is gonna be, I'm not gonna be here next year, but you guys are gonna look at this next year and be like, okay, we're adding crosswalks and ADA ramps. Where are we gonna take that from now? Because we can't just be over.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if we need it, we gotta live still. Unfortunately, we gotta figure out how to do it.
and part of the reason we were over on this is we were also looking at what I had in street reserves.
Right.
And we were gonna pull out of street reserves, offset our overages for this year.
Okay.
That's why.
Where
this
some of
got-
that is.
That's why this got approved the way it did, and
Okay.
that's why the numbers look the way they do.
Okay,
So-
perfect. Appreciate it. These are hard questions, I know,
No, I,
but,
well, and when it looks like this, you don't know, I mean, you can go back and watch all the public works meetings and.
oh,
see what
absolutely.
we talked.
Been through, all the council meetings with it too, so I 100% remember talking about it. But I just need to know, this budget year is extra tough and you know that, so we gotta ask tough questions.
The reason mosquito spraying in the bureau is not this year, but previous year. We only sprayed for mosquito twice because we're in a drought. So we had product left over that carried us through this year, so we didn't have to expend it.
No,
Any other questions on the street?
all right, hold on, I'm still not feeling it. Matt, you were gone for half of that
I've talked to Dave.
before. Okay, so you're asking for 55 in reserves? So I'm showing now that we're changing those around a little bit. Their expense total, was 443,865. We're gonna take out 30, or we're gonna take out 20,000 from here, but add in another 10 from here, correct?
We were gonna take 30 out and add 10.
Okay, so this was gonna be 25 into utility street lighting,
Yep.
25,000. And then add 10,000 into operating supplies, snow.
Correct.
Okay, so that means we should take off
You take off 20,000. Off of,
Mm-hmm.
30 and plus 10, so 20. So that brings this down over here.
Where you go to school, Kate?
My math teacher was our football coach. So
Sounds like basketball practice to me.
433,866, is that what you come up with then?
it'd be
Four-
423.
423, you guys got me all rattled
So
now.
these changes that you're making.
Where are we?
keeping track of
We're
these or
23.
how
Yeah,
are you doing
I'm
this?
writing, yeah.
Okay.
So that should make their total expense total 423,866. And is that within the number that you told him he needed to get to?
Yes,
I think I got less.
yeah, you cut more
You
than
might
what
be one of my favorite. One
Danny,
of.
don't feel bad about that.
Wow, my heart.
Dan Brobst is one of my other favorites.
My history.
Stand alone. We're recording.
It's recording.
Okay, any more on,
On to the
any,
next.
yeah, okay. Then the next one is garbage. And I don't think that,
I mean, that's pretty straightforward.
exactly,
Well,
yeah.
The only thing, like you said earlier, here's where we might be able to make some black if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
How bad do you wanna make it hurt?
You mean by charging
More,
people more?
right,
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I have to remember that we're in the process of increasing
sewer and water
Yeah,
and
and
garbage.
garbage.
already to get to this number.
mhm.
That's
Mm.
with the new, that's with the new rate, increasing.
You know, this is just me, I'm a little more open to increasing, for instance, building fees, permit fees, just because the person building this, they're choosing, you know, they have the resources to build.
Mhm.
And so we charge them a little more for their permit. Okay, that's different to me than just slapping an across the board raise on everybody, whether they want it, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That's just me,
I would agree with that.
Well, except that you shouldn't be losing money.
for
No,
sure.
I get that you're not in the business of making money, but you also shouldn't be losing money in
On-
particular departments either.
No, 100%.
Water, sewer and garbage.
100%,
So it takes,
but it looks like we're not.
okay, so
Right.
as long as you're not, then I appreciate that approach, but if you're upside down on any of those.
Then you have to
areas,
charge more.
Then you gotta charge more
100%.
and you've gotta be functioning at even keel,
Mhm.
At least, I think.
at least on even.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if not more.
Right.
Okay, so we have approximately how many households that we bill water sewer, 800? Is that right still, or is there more than that? Do you remember, George?
963 sticks in my head, but I don't know if that's residency or ordinance.
What'd you say, Dan?
That's 12.
Okay, so let's say 950, just because I'm in there, even if you raised it $1. So $950 times 12 months, you're only still making 11,400 if we increase garbage by a whole $1.
But didn't you say nickels make dimes?
They do,
Okay.
but my
I'm just
tax,
picking on you, Kate. Come on, laugh with us.
my math teacher was still my football coach.
No, you're right. It, not much, but.
Right, I mean, it does,
It helps Jake with salt or, you
the
know,
fire department and
Sure
ambulance
could,
and
yep.
whatever. So it's something to consider if we,
if we need to.
All right.
Yep.
I'm just waiting for Chrissy to come back in. She had to help a citizen.
I think next is library finally.
Yep.
Did I miss anything?
No.
We're talking about raising $1 for garbage would only bring us in 11,400 extra dollars a year. But if we need to, we need to.
Right, okay,
I'd rather be 12,000 up than 12,000 down.
I agree.
Okay,
Our 40% was $36,588. We're going to request the foundation take over more of our materials budget. Which is a little bit of a risky thing because they only need quarterly, so I can put this on paper, but then, hopefully they will go for that. That would increase. Because we had a special project that they're probably gonna match if the grant comes through this year. The increase to them would be $5,800 for the next fiscal year. All the rest has to come out of wages, FICA and IPERS, that's 26,788. And that's a combination of things. Some reduced hours, but I think I've identified a couple places where, things have changed, and so, my goal with this budget is to make the changes I have to make with the least impact on the citizens. So.
no, we appreciate it.
Couple hours in times that maybe didn't used to be slow, but now they're slower. We see year upon year an increase in digital usage.
I'm just gonna ask you how much your ebooks are running these days.
Oh, it's ridiculous. I
Yeah.
just bought some last week. The bestsellers are $90.
That's exactly what I heard last night.
Yep, they're horrible. But that's-
I had no idea. The only reason I'm bringing that to your attention is I had no idea an
Yep.
ebook was $90 for a
No
library.
kidding.
Yep.
And that's that's now what people are looking for. They're not looking for the hardbounds anymore. They're looking for the ebooks.
And that's just for a single user at a time, not multiple
Yeah, one person at a
time.
In the consortium, I do try to buy the ones that are the best bang for the buck. In the consortium, I have it set so when I purchase an ebook or an audio download book, I have it set so that after 1 year, it stays exclusive to our patrons for 1 year. For that, after that, it goes into the consortium. So you're getting the most use out of that one item that you can. Some of them are, lifetime, no expiration. Some of them are, usually I go 2 years if I go anything, otherwise it's really not worth it. So,
you're asking the foundation for how much extra this year?
5,008.
About 6,000.
5,800 additional over what we asked them for this year.
Do you know, I know you said that they meet quarterly, but knowing these budget cuts are coming now, is there any way to reach out to ask for special meeting or special consideration from them or not?
No, I would just have that much less, I guess, in my materials budget. I can't take it out of utilities,
Okay. That was my next
Yeah.
question.
You
If
know,
they say no, what do we do?
Yeah, I can't take it out of telephone and internet. I can't take it out of gas and
Right.
electric.
You could, but that wouldn't be fun because it'd be
Right.
cold in there.
Right.
It's not good for the books.
No, or the electric.
I was just reading Tony Voss's last column last night, and one of his things that he put in there was you shouldn't use one-time money for ongoing expenses.
I know.
And that's where my concern is with asking the foundation for this much more for materials, but I'm also looking like this, like I said, maintain services, try to get through this year, regroup.
Well, and again, that's just what you were talking about, Jeff, the nickels add up, if we've got 11,000 there,
Yeah,
I don't know the best answer for this.
that's a tough one.
There'll be some, cuts in wages,
You're not proposing cutting hourly wages, like you're gonna take a pay decrease this year instead of getting a raise?
to make it work, I did take a cut. This also hasn't gone to my library board. It's a combination,
Yeah.
employees have less hours. We took the 3% off the table. We found it real hard to justify docking someone 8 hours a week and then giving yourself a raise. You know, it just sticks in the craw.
Mhm. Yep.
So how much was your total cut? I'm sorry.
Total 40%, it's $36,588.
And that's what you were able to cut, that's the number you cut.
Yes.
Library levy. Well, it didn't go through, it didn't make it through. It was admitted because they saw the property tax reform as creating exactly this issue. These are a couple of Republicans that actually submitted the bill, but then
They're trying again this year.
are they trying to?
Yeah, they're trying, because it's all of the consolidated general fund levy. It's all that consolidated, but they're looking at trying to separate the library out of it.
Kind of like the
Didn't have
museum
that,
levy,
but
kind of like the museum levy.
Cedar
was.
Falls did.
Right. Yeah, it says 97 communities used to have the levy.
George,
We were one that did not.
We did not.
No, we did not.
did you have a comment?
Yeah, if I may.
Please.
I understand the 40% across the board attempt to cut.
Mhm.
But I look at the library differently in that it's pretty much a fixed cost environment, very little discretionary. You look at Jake's situation with streets, he can not do a block or two of asphalt. You look at the other various departments, they have more of a flexible
Mhm.
budget. My concern with a public service of a library in any significant cut, if you're cutting hours of service, that's to me a different grouping
Mhm.
from a standpoint of trying to enforce a 40%. In some cases, you can get a 40% cut because a department was asking for what they really would like to have, not what they have to have. In the case of a library, I would, without having looked at the budget request, I would suggest that they're normally in a, here's what we need to operate. Here's not what we would like to have from a moon scenario. So my comment would be a much less stringent attempt to cut from that specific, what I call a small unit of the city.
My other comment to piggyback on that is the same way with ambulance. You know what I mean? That there are, we have so many problems with rural EMS right now. And having an ambulance service in this town that has people willing to staff it is a huge thing. So we've got to be cognizant of that. Can we go with one less block of asphalt if it means we can keep our ambulance running and our library running? You know, those are kind of the priority things too. Or chief, can you take, you know, an extra patrol shift a week if it means being able to reduce your guys' budget to this amount so that we can continue to keep this and that in there too. I was gonna say the same thing too with that, so I appreciate your.
And I think, George, when we threw this back to the committees, you know, hey, it's 40%, see what you can do, but tell us what you can't. I commend all you guys. I mean, you're really not saying what you can't live with. And I mean, George is right. I mean, if there's stuff in there that is gonna be a lot of growing pains, you need to tell us that. You know, hey, I got a car limping along at 298,000 miles in the police department. We gotta do something. Just an example, you know, that's the things that I would love to hear to say, hey, we can't cut hours. You know, our service is gonna go from 12 hours a day to 10 hours a day or 10 to 8. You know, that's what I'd like to hear. So at least we can make a rational decision.
I'm much more worried about going forward than I am this year. I mean, I can eliminate some employee overlap, you know, when I don't need as many people on the desk at a time. I can take 2 hours off Friday morning because that second band no longer comes in. I can cut some hours on Saturday.
But if you had an extra
Another
10, you'd
one
take
of
it.
my goals was to try to do it so that no full-time employees lose their health insurance
Which is good.
for this year.
Yep.
To give them another year come to terms with this, that, you know, this is really uncertain for next year. But you've got a year to figure that out.
Right.
And I managed to do that.
No, that's great.
Good.
Mary,
Okay.
that's great.
I think one of the great benefits of financial hardship in my own personal life and now here in an organization, it forces you to go through this stuff. And so you know, back there, we saved $6,500 just without even thinking about it. Oh, you can cut this in half, you can cut this. Well, $6,500 to you is a really big deal. And right there, we just said, we don't need that. So why was it in there? You know what I mean? Like,
And can we shift it?
when we're talking about the
But
library,
yeah,
and I,
and that 65, sorry to interrupt you, the $6,500 that we cut out of the
inspection.
inspections, we could put back into
Library.
library or another department.
Well, and the same thing with Jake, there was an extra 10 there,
Right.
even bumping up your sand and salt, not that you couldn't use it.
No.
'Cause you
the
would.
One thing is we need to look at, we'll get there with parks too, because I had to offset some parks on the street side, because I couldn't cut
Sure.
that much of a park.
And parks are gonna be, again, a big citizen.
Yeah, and that'd be more fixed.
But I said this at our last meeting, but like something like library, where the total budget is pretty minuscule compared to everything else. You know, 40% out of minuscule is a lot more harmful than 40% out of humongous.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm,
Like you have less opportunity to work with.
mhm.
So,
We understand that and we want to keep our library as vibrant as possible as well, so.
Okay, any other questions?
We'll come back. And I'll ask you all there. Thank you for all
you
your
could
hard.
resign and she could appoint George. I mean, that's a thing.
Just second.
I have a question about that. So if Mary's hoping that her board absorbs that cost. I mean, is that something that we as a city should really consider giving back to Mary, so that way she's not on speculation?
Yes,
That's the.
Mia. Yeah.
That's, I think that's where this comes down, and then at the end of this, we
Then
can go
we'll
back
take-
and say, let's do this.
Yep.
But we're just
And
getting,
plug in all the new numbers and see where we actually end up, and then we can make some of those.
You can make those.
I mean, so
Those-
one note I've made is we're gonna revisit library.
Yep, and
Yep.
that's
So-
actually
Yep.
been in my notes from the very beginning
Yeah.
was
Well-
any help that I can get to the library. Please, you know,
And I think that's
that was
true,
kind of been my mindset.
not just the library. I
For
think
sure.
we revisit this whole thing.
For
You know,
sure.
if we come up X amount of dollars black, where can
And-
we put that back in?
That goes
Which we're
back,
not gonna, but
Where's it benefit the citizens? Like, yeah.
that
where's it
goes back to the
benefit
comment I
citizens the
made,
most?
that it's gonna be your decision
yeah.
as to how to.
and nothing else, this will get people talking about, you know, look at the cuts to the library, maybe your library foundation donations go through the roof when we send this all out, right?
Yeah.
Knock on wood and hope.
Okay, next category then is the depot. So,
Those are,
Tear it down, just kidding, don't do that.
yeah, there, it's
I mean, I
just
skipped that.
utilities.
It's
Just
$1,000 like next.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's just
Hold on.
utilities and,
So that's 430, right?
no, that is
four
4,
twenty,
420.
430 is parks.
Oh, it's just this one, sorry.
Yep,
Yeah,
and
Yep.
I cut that in half because with it not being open and not doing anything
Yep.
right now,
Right.
it's very minimum.
Yep.
So that may change, but when that is, I have no idea.
Yep.
So then 430, if you go to the top of page 11, that'll be material expenses.
So 430 is park,
Yes.
Yes,
okay? We get more money from the golf course now that we made it free than we
Sorry.
ever got before when we charged.
Yes.
That's amazing.
just.
I love it.
Which is why, and I'm gonna say this out loud, downtown
Okay.
Waterloo should get rid of their meters, because they'd have more people downtown shopping if they got rid of their meters.
Amen.
I'll post it online, yeah.
I got a $10 ticket not that long ago. All right,
Okay,
parks.
Okay, so I didn't cut a lot of things, because there's not a lot of things I can cut out of parks. We were able to shave some off utilities, trimmed minor equipment down a little bit too.
But the biggest thing was vehicle reserves. I completely did away with vehicle reserves
And Hudson Days fireworks.
and the Hudson Days fireworks.
Meaning the donation we gave to Hudson Days for fireworks.
Correct.
Yep.
Building maintenance, you're only putting $150 in.
I think that was supposed to be 1,500.
I was gonna say that's quite a,
That's what I was
quite a cut.
concerned about there. Nope,
Okay.
that's why we're doing this. Uniforms and development training, only $500 each. Are most of your people developed, trained out of public street? Is there, who is dedicated parks versus,
Nobody is.
so what is the 57,000 wages that we've got going in parks versus the other?
That's for when that's how it's always been broke out.
For mowing
There's
and,
Basically all summer. Most of summer we're on parks wages. Most of winter we're on streets wages. Obviously water and sewer, those guys are primarily water. and sewer
Those are
wages.
separate, yeah.
But we're floating in between parks and streets a lot, but primarily your season shift is when your wage shifts.
Okay.
As
Okay.
far as, I mean, ground maintenance. There's just with the golf course and with all the parks we have, we can't cut out of there.
So what was your total ask to be cut and what did you cut out of this one?
I'd have to look at my paper. I think my total ask to be cut was like 67,000. And I believe I cut out of this budget 40 something thousand, and then I took the rest out of streets.
Okay,
You more than compensated for it on the street side.
that's why we were 10,000 over 25,000 over on streets versus this one. Okay,
any other,
one other thing that again, I would like to throw out there, and I know we've done it before, but I also think it's a good time for a market study and are getting bids on it, is I want to continue to, just like we're looking at, gas in Cedar Falls. Could we get the mowing, I've come back to this so many times, Jake, and you tell me no every single time, but I've got to ask the question to be a responsible person asking the question about would we be ahead hiring somebody, place to mow? And maybe it's not all of it. And we've got a lot of equipment dollars in your mowing stuff, I know, between trailers and all that stuff. So it may not be the easiest thing to do, but is there a way to look at what the cost difference would be?
I can try reaching out. I just don't know that there probably is a company or two, but I can tell you we do not have a local contractor that can take on the mowing.
Okay. And again, it's just questions being asked,
And you lose a little bit of control.
and we lose a lot of the control too.
I mean,
Yep.
we take pride in our part.
I was just gonna
Absolutely.
say, I'm pretty sure our city employees take pride in the work that they
Yeah.
do.
Trying to throw everything out that I've got in
I
the
mean,
tank.
I'll throw this out to you. Look at Waterloo. They hire out some of their mowing and they do some in-house.
Yeah.
How does Waterloo Parks looks compared to ours?
Here's
Yes,
a comment I would make when we've looked at that in the past. And everything can always be looked at again.
Sure,
The challenge was if we got a bid for somebody mowing. The only way you really get a savings is if you eliminate the staff
right,
that were on
right.
board, because you're running a very thin staff across the streets and parks. So
Completely
that was the
understand.
challenge.
Yep,
Yeah.
just, throwing out the questions that I
Like
get.
you mentioned with the equipment, I know we've got a lot of equipment, we've got a lot of, or house we take care of too, so. But when it comes to mowing equipment, I mean, for the equipment we use mowing, 90% of it gets used in the winter too. Obviously mower decks do not. If you take the pull behind mower and the two mower decks we use during the summer and take them off, it's $30,000.
Right. No, agreed. Yeah, you reuse trailers, you reuse everything else. I completely understand. Like I said, I'm trying to throw everything in the
But I mean,
tank
if
I've
it's
got.
something the council can do, I can try reaching out to the contractor and getting it.
I mean, it's that, I'm gonna leave that up to the public works team, committees too, but
Matt, yep.
No, it's not worth it.
Okay,
right, what do you do?
Yeah.
With one more, then it becomes more economical to put your own labor in and do it yourself.
Um,
When you own the stuff,
and just saying this for,
and you would still have to own the equipment.
right. Optic sake too, and this is not, this is a overall general thing. The optics to, and not, how do I say this? We need to be careful of sending two employees to do things that one employee can do. I'm not saying that's for everybody. That's not just, you know, anything
public
specific
perception.
that's been brought to me, but public perception when we're cutting 40%. And if, you know, I see two people at Santa Menards buying one garden hose, obviously we just need to be cognizant of those things. And the training with the building inspector versus a public works employee as well. Just making sure that we're looking at total hours and everything going with that. So just, like I said, nothing specific. I'm saying it out loud to everybody, so. Optics are gonna be huge right now for what we're doing.
Any more questions on PERC? Okay. Next one is rec.
That's on the bottom,
That's 440.
440.
Yep. It's on page 12,
Well,
in the middle there. And again, what we talked about, like the rec fees, that's gonna be coming.
Yeah.
That's more seasonal. That'll be.
one thing that.
I mean, do we think we're gonna get $87,000 worth of rec fees? Before the end of the year?
Would say probably not. They have increased their fees, but it's hard with that. It's hard to tell.
They're getting more kids
Where
though
did that
too.
number come from?
That, the 75,000 is what the, well, originally the rec board had 90,000. I cut it down to 75 because I think last year
I was just gonna say,
year
what,
was 60,000. And so with increasing the fees and having more programs for the kids throughout the year, was hoping that we could increase the.
Get to
the
75?
revenue.
Yeah, but that's
get to
speculative,
Correct, yeah.
so you might not wanna speculate on revenue there to between $15,000, you don't know. Get it. I don't know, George, would you speculate $15,000 or would you put it at last year's number at 60?
Well, if I was worried, I'll put it this way. The 15,000 is minute compared to what a rollback could do in property taxes or anything as far as two more houses having property taxes. So I look
get
at
that that's a
15,000
number
as a small amount.
Yeah, I get that that's a small number, but it's something that, I mean, we have data on what the previous year was.
If relative, yeah, if you're doing it relative to the previous year, I
So
wouldn't want to increase it very much.
in the current environment, maybe that's too overly a conservative approach, but in the current environment, are you better off using the data that you know has been previous than
And let me work it up.
just ask?
Well, that $90,000 to $75,000, that's expenses. That's not revenue.
yeah,
The,
it is rep.
yeah, the
Yeah.
4404501, the first line, that's a
Revenue.
a revenue, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Um,
those top three are revenue coming in
You mean anything above the blue?
above the.
Got it, got it.
revenue.
Okay.
um,
Well, it's,
And the estimates that were given you were by the Park and Rec Board,
Correct,
their calculations.
yes. Um,
So one other question. Last year, they put in that they were gonna bring in $13,050 in donations and they brought in 1,300 so far. Is that really true?
For this fiscal year, yes.
Well,
And
when the fall
again,
program rolls around, that will go up quite a bit.
Yeah.
before.
We'll
like,
go
in
up 13,
April,
that
right?
$12,000.
I don't know the dollar amount, but it will go up quite a bit.
I can look at that one as well.
I mean,
If we looked at what, we go back one more
Right.
full year and see exactly what came in.
That's right.
And see if it's reasonable.
I mean, again, to me, it's not unreasonable to say the same thing about Park and Rec is garbage, is you need to break even. You know what I mean? That there can be some city sponsorship dollars, whether it's $500 or whatever. But they need to break even.
And their biggest expense is wages. So we wrestled, if you remember right, we wrestled with, do we or don't we put anybody in that park and rec position?
We have a person in a Park and Rec.
Two part-time.
Mhm.
Part-time people.
Yep, and
Two
that
part-time, one
accounts-
full-time. Is how it adds up.
No,
That's the biggest expense we have.
is wages. So the recreational fees for the last fiscal year was just over 50,000. It was $50,075.17 is what was brought in.
50,000
50075.17.
And that was 23-24.
Correct. Sponsorships, let me look.
So in setting last year's number, they thought they could increase it by 80%. And that was probably based on a lot of that, the ball fields were ready to have tournaments and all that kind of stuff. Is that,
Which didn't,
But which didn't happen panned out yet.
Yeah, the softball tournaments, the other things. I know the last soccer sign up, they had 160 kids signed up for that program.
But that doesn't.
That
doesn't
wasn't
come
Park and
in here,
Rec, no.
So what they brought in last year for sponsorships was $3,265.
and they thought they were gonna bring in 13,000.
no,
No,
that's the previous year,
Yeah, but they, last year, they
9,500.
said they were gonna bring in
Yes.
13,050,
Yeah.
right?
and they brought in 3,000 the year before.
That would speak to an ambitious, optimistic view of how the sports program was gonna proliferate.
So in reality, the rec fees paid the wages. If we look at that for last year. They brought in 60, wages was 60.
But it doesn't pay for any of the
It doesn't pay for
expenses.
expense.
The expenses are not,
I need to raise the fees.
Or they need to cut their staff.
Or they- Yeah,
Hi, Dan.
thanks.
Hi, Mark.
Um,
I'll miss you.
yeah, it's either they.
You're gonna miss me?
Yeah.
I thought you were better in.
It's, yeah,
So they're full-time,
no.
two
there's
two part-times. And then does this also include then the wages for the summer program?
Yeah, the kids adventure and the umpires for,
So, I mean, we probably gotta have a conversation with Parks and for recreation. Like, if they're not paying for themselves, then someone's gotta go.
Well, they gotta figure out a way to pay for themselves.
And the
So there is
reason,
no full-time person to
I
have this
think-
conversation with, right?
no, there's two part-time people.
Okay.
I think I remember having a conversation in a morning meeting, would that have been, what committee?
It was 2 years ago, back when I was still.
Yeah, it was,
on.
yeah.
Two
August,
part-timers to save benefits rather than ever going to full-time, and to see how the program would go.
And so I would say the program hasn't become what they said it might, and that's not a,
so do you feel, Matt, that's because it's too part-time and not a full-time?
That's what I'm
Do
questioning.
you feel
I
it's,
don't know.
that, or it's just that there was just, I mean, I think there's obviously potential to grow,
Is,
but I think,
Not a question for them.
is one of
Yeah.
those
For them.
That's a question.
part-timers in charge, or is there,
No, it's
is it, that's a shared responsibility?
Shared responsibility.
There's a
mean-
problem in my book.
I don't know,
Nobody's in
I'm
charge.
not, I don't know the people, so I'm not taking shots at anyone individually. I'm just saying like, if you came to us and said, hire us because we think we can create this, and now we're 2 years down the road and that hasn't been created, and we're in a budget
Right.
pinch,
Mhm.
then you have to expect that somebody's gonna be saying, hey, we might have to go a different direction here.
and I think in respect to them, those guys have a full-time job.
Yep.
No, this ain't a full-time job, it's a part-time.
Mhm.
It- So I mean, are their investments there, their heart's there, it's just.
Yeah.
Hey, should we raise baseball fees $5 a kid? Should we raise basketball fees $2 a kid? Have they sat down and picked this budget apart to say, okay, if we need to play on a level playing field, inbound versus outbound on our expenses,
Right,
what do we need to do? And maybe
Yeah.
that's something we need to talk to them.
yeah, and maybe they, I mean,
That's their board.
maybe they say we need to not have two part-time people.
I believe they meet tomorrow,
They
don't
do
they?
meet tomorrow.
Is budget on the,
Actually, one of the guys texted me last night and asked, he said, "Hey, is there any updates you have for the ball fields or anything in general for our meeting?" And I messaged him back and said, updates that were started will be completed, but obviously any future updates will be putting on hold. Also, budget discussions, so.
Gail,
I
will
did
you be
mention that.
attending tomorrow night?
what's that?
Or will you be attending the meeting tomorrow night?
Yes.
You want me to? I can attend if you guys.
I'm not
Good.
around. But I mean, I think the message is just like, hey, guys, like, this is a category that has to pretty much pay for itself or close. And we're not even in the same,
We're short
Ballpark.
$85,000.
George.
And mainly, maybe on the revenue, there's just on a big round number that Chrissy in the past. Is have them detail itemize
Yeah,
which programs,
yep,
how many kids,
yep,
what price, and when does it come in?
yep.
Yep.
So you know the timing as well, and you can shoot holes on any one of those particular
And let's
things. And what would be really nice if they had that same comparative data from the prior year. Here's what we had last year.
Yes,
That would give them more information on how
Yes.
to create their estimate.
Well,
for
they're
this
bored,
year.
yeah.
Well,
they're-
and
they're
then-
out there.
And I did give them that
Okay,
information, yeah,
super.
and we
because
could
they asked.
also then say, okay, we've got, you know, this many kids last year, and then kind of average it, and then kind of, if they're raising their fees, then
Yep.
can kind of do an estimated revenue based off of that.
Well, and I would preface this with you need to be, you need to pay for yourself.
Yes.
I mean, bottom line, you figure it out, but y'all gotta pay for yourself here somehow.
Is there also the factor with that program though, that some kids can't afford it and their parents will not pay it? Can't
yeah,
pay
I
it.
mean, I was just
Not
gonna
to
say,
Yeah,
participate.
there's gotta be some of that.
That's,
too.
that's important to take.
like,
into consideration.
we're not saying to the library, you have to pay for yourself. Right? I mean, we're willing to invest some money in something that benefits the community.
Like,
And
But there's
so,
not a fee that they can charge that they could raise,
right,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I
Water sewer, we are, you know, saying
yep,
that
yep,
you get water, you have to pay for the water.
yep,
Or it's as Mary referred to, which is you've got your revenue, you got your expense. And if there's a certain amount that the city says is okay because we're gonna help the kids who can't
I agree
afford
with
it,
that.
then that just becomes part of your calculation.
Yeah.
But
Or-
it shows up as a line item.
yes.
And if
Internally.
there's that number out there too, is there
That's
somebody
what
willing,
donations.
is there somebody willing to sponsor a kid that
Yeah.
can't pay for it? You know, they do that in West Branch all the time. My sister always pays for one extra kid because somebody can't pay for it.
Jake, I got a question. We have a maintenance grounds in parks, and we also have a maintenance grounds in rec.
Yes.
Same thing or not?
Popcorn?
Similar things. I
Is that
use the rec one. I use that for when we do work at the ball fields as far as fertilizing, spraying, aeration, stuff like that.
That helps, thanks.
No, just wait.
That's all right. I need to leave, guys, but I'll watch the rest of this online and get caught up. And apologize for the questions I can't ask anymore.
Where do you play?
We don't.
Oh, you don't play
No,
tennis?
Jillian plays over in Marquette. Yeah,
Good
so,
luck.
Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
Safe driving.
thank you.
Don't hit a deer.
Thanks.
okay.
We're expecting championships.
I like that.
You hit a deer, bring it
No
back.
fever. We heard that. No fever.
Okay, so I think we're done with rec. Okay. Next one is, community center.
This one. Is pretty much self-sufficient.
Okay,
Utilities are utilities. And the building maintenance, we probably won't have, I mean, we maybe could cut something out of the building maintenance.
Thank you.
Um.
Hold on, where am I at? Sorry.
we're on community center,
top of page
13.
13.
top of page 13.
I'll get there. Go watch the West Wing.
Probably will actually.
I have
Thanks, Heather.
So, yeah, the building maintenance,
Oh, Dan's out there.
yeah, if you wanted to cut out of there, you could.
Okay,
Let me tell you what. Revenue last fiscal year, in case you were wondering.
okay,
So where we spent zero on maintenance this year because of the update, is that why? That is because we just dropped it all into that?
Yeah, we didn't have to do anything.
$30 whole in operating supplies? Is that some Clorox wipes?
Maybe.
We just didn't clean for them.
Well, they were pretty gross there at the end.
So what we brought in for rentals, total last year was $3,600. So I'm hoping with the updates, we see more.
Yeah.
I thought, I mean, again, I'm guessing, speculating on the room rental, but if we decrease the maintenance, then we can decrease the
Revenue.
revenue.
Okay, so here's a question. What do we charge right now for rental on this?
So if you are, a Hudson resident with no alcohol, it's $100. If you want alcohol, it is $150.
And you have to have a security,
You have to have the
plus
security.
security, which every place does now.
And then if you are a
Non-Hudson?
non-resident, it is $200 to rent with no alcohol and $250 to rent with alcohol plus a security person.
Okay, what, do you have a list of how many days that's requested to be used so far? As far as paid people, like, are there weekends that are already booked?
Oh, yeah, we have a ton of, our busiest time is May and June because of graduation.
Okay,
So we have almost every weekend except for Mother's Day in May. So that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
okay,
No, I'm sorry, Saturday and Sunday of May booked and paid for already.
okay,
Except, like I said, except for Mother's Day weekend.
which is typical because they
Yeah,
were using
very
it before it got
Yep.
updated too.
And then, in June, the first 2 weekends, Saturday, Sunday are booked, paid for.
Okay, is there a need or could we do, and this is a throw out too? I hate to say we're advertising our city, but we are. Could we throw some pictures online on our Facebook page that could be shared to say this is available, here's our rates?
Mhm.
Because I think you could book that more often. Because I don't think it's out of line. I don't think these rates are bad. We could raise them if you raise them $25 a piece,
I was just gonna say,
or $50 a piece. I'm okay with
effective July
looking
first.
at that, effective July 1st. But I think people don't, Matt left both of his phones sitting here.
He'll be back.
Back,
Um,
we'll figure it
no.
out.
call him, but that's not gonna work. is it?
Drive that way and drop them off.
Oh my
He'll
gosh,
be
I
back.
hope he figures it out sooner rather than
Um,
We'll
later.
figure it out.
He
You
did
don't-
that
He did
last
that the
time.
last time.
Yeah, but if we, could, get some information out there so that we can book those, maybe that's an increase in revenue.
Yep. And-
For
and-
us down
and I
there.
can do that.
I think I just heard a door.
Throw it in there.
Okay.
Okay.
Must be.
I don't have.
There's Jen, just her picture.
Have a ice, to push ice to call her in case of
No.
emergency.
She can't get a hold of him either, so.
So
Yeah, but we can at least tell her that we got the phones.
do we wanna go ahead and take a look then at, decreasing the building maintenance? Cause we shouldn't have too much since we're,
We may be able, I would say maybe we can cut that in half,
okay,
cut it to
2,500?
2,500.
yep,
I mean, cause what happens if a light goes out or, there are some
The
things that
guys
may
fix
have
it.
to be. But you might still have to pay for the bulb or,
Right, and
whatever the case may
Right.
be.
Is that not? Okay.
and then, so as for revenue, do we wanna just go ahead and take that down to 4,000 then?
Sure, or,
Okay. What's our
um,
average that we charge somebody in that? I mean, would you say most of it's Hudson,
no, yeah,
most of it Hudson without alcohol?
correct.
Okay, so if we need to make 5,000 divided by $100 a piece, it needs to be rented 50 times.
Yeah, that's why,
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So even if I would say 3,000 in there,
Okay.
that's 30 days
Right,
out of
and
a
then
year.
that's a break even.
That's a break even.
Yeah, and I would say that $30 or 30 days out of the year,
Right.
we have that.
So are there still nonprofits that are using that space?
There are some, there's not many. Every once in a while, we'll have a Girl Scout troop that'll meet or a 4-H group.
And we're not charging them
No,
for
we're not, because
nonprofits.
they're,
Or-
and they're typically
Thank you.
only using it for a couple hours.
Right. I mean, I've used it for an interview space real quick for an hour here and there too,
Right.
but,
Did
But-
Adventure pay through the summer or not?
No, they do not, because
Okay.
it's a city program.
Okay.
Okay,
They're not on weekends though, correct?
They're not there on.
And they're only there, is the Kid Adventures 2 weeks or how many weeks is
It's
it?
like 9 weeks now.
Shit, really?
Entire summer.
yeah,
The entire summer, yeah.
Never had any of that.
They
Park
meet
and Rec.
Monday through
I was just out on the street.
Thursday, I believe. And they're only meeting 8 to noon, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and they meet all day on Wednesday, but.
So if somebody
but the
wanted it-
afternoon is they're going on a field trip.
So if somebody wanted an evening and wanted to rent it, still they could do that,
They could,
but
but you have 60,000 kids well, they don't, but like 60 kids sometimes down there.
yeah, but if they wanted to rent it for the evening when the kids
They
weren't
could
there,
do
but
that.
it's still
Yeah.
available to be
Yeah,
rented.
Tuesday, Thursday, Friday and weekends could be rented,
Okay.
right?
One of the other things to bring up to Kids Adventure to the Park and Rec if you're going is with that remodel, there is not storage space for them.
Right,
You
yeah, I
know?
know that one thing they were asking about was a refrigerator, and I told them,
No.
no, we're not putting one in.
No.
And I don't know, and I don't foresee that happening anytime soon.
They could find. a
Not
donation.
just, and not just because of kids, the kid.
No, but
Right.
It's just overall because
it's pain.
it's
We
a,
expect
it's a
it.
pain, yeah.
And most of the time it's catered in and
Right.
they bring in their coolers with their
Well, and
stuff,
that,
so.
that
okay.
freezer when it was down, that was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll revisit that.
So we did 3,000 on that one? for
3,000 on
revenue?
rental and then 2,500 on building maintenance.
So that made us about even.
That made us even. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
economic development, we just cut that out completely.
Yep.
What's $1,000 for permits coming in? Where's that?
That will. I'm not sure what that is.
Cause that's a revenue account, right?
No, that's an expense. I don't remember what that would have been for.
But it says we've spent 286 this year.
No, we
Are
only
we-
spent,
are we-
nope, you're on
We're-
520.
Yeah, we're into, that's,
okay.
that's plenty of
Sorry,
zoning.
520, there we go,
Okay, keep going then.
okay. All right, so then we'll move into planning and zoning.
That's where I'm at.
Yep,
540 is. So,
Thank you.
yeah,
Sorry.
there's not, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot that I could cut out of this.
14. Mary, you guys don't have to speak on it.
What's the yellow square mean?
The yellow there, that was just a transfer in that, a lot of times if. In years past, I have transferred in, like local option if we had extra just to cover wages or any overages.
Okay.
So I didn't put anything in there.
So is the 18,652 your wages as the zoning coordinate, planning and zoning
Yeah,
coordinator?
it's just a percentage. Yep. I don't remember what the percentage is.
Okay.
Is it 20? Okay. Cause yeah, we figured 20% of my time
Yeah, that's fine.
is,
One day a week type.
and most of the
Okay.
time, that's what it is.
We cut travel down to 1,500 for that.
Yep, I did.
And what would travel be used
So,
for on planning and zoning?
That would be, any classes that I would go to, so like, floodplain classes, anything that comes up with those changes, those are sometimes once a year. The other one is the, Professional Developers of Iowa. They have 2 conferences, I usually go in the fall, one or the other, either spring or fall. The other one that is, some of the other stuff is, so mileage would come out of that line item as well. So,
Mileage for what?
to travel to those classes, if I
Okay.
have to.
So, and at this point, there may be a possibility that we just cut conferences for the year. You
Sure.
know, I mean, it's just maybe what it is.
Yep.
It's not anything, my question, I guess, was, is there anything that's like requirement certification wise in
Not
planning and
under
zoning?
planning and zoning, no.
Okay,
So we could cut that out.
and
completely
if there
you wanted.
is, you know, like if there's an online class or
Oh,
something
yeah,
like
if
that,
I can find an online class, I'll do that before I,
travel anywhere, obviously, so.
but yeah, I don't know. And most of the online classes, like the floodplain classes, a lot of them are free right now.
Right,
So yeah, I'm okay with cutting
that
that-
travel out of there,
completely out, yeah. Cause yeah, I'm not certified in anything.
I mean, again, if there's certifications that we have to keep up, we
No,
have to keep
there's
them
not,
up.
there, with planning and zoning, there is not.
Thank you. Okay. Another $1,500, I'm just kidding.
Okay,
Now we're to,
okay,
what's technology software for that one too? Is that still that same GIS update
Yeah,
or?
correct. Yep.
For,
So planning and zoning, so it'll be, a lot of what other cities use it for, like Independence. If you have a developer that calls or wants to look at a zoning map, it's overlaid on a map.
Okay.
And so it's more real time and, a lot of times it will answer questions rather than calling, which I don't mind people calling, but it's some.
It puts a visual with it.
Right, yeah,
it's an ability, it's a tool.
yeah.
And then what's the $136 for printing and publishing?
That was I just cut out, 40% out of that, cause I don't print a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but it
for
was
planning and-
2,000 last year and it's down to $136. Is that supposed to be something
and we've
different?
expended 1,600 already.
Should that be 13?
Should have that have a zero.
Um, I'm not sure on that.
Sorry, I
one.
took back your
Nope.
$1,500.
Yep, I can put it in, I'll put $1,500 in.
Okay. I just wanna make sure.
I have no idea,
Okay.
So how much were you gonna put back in?
1,500,
Okay,
yeah, I have no idea.
I was gonna say,
where that came from.
136
Sorry,
seems
I don't know.
odd.
That's, yeah.
Very specific.
Your
Okay.
offense, you're working with a lot. of-
Legal also, I would question why it's so,
Yeah, we're going from 10,000 down to 1,300 for legal.
So legal is is development agreements and all of that, so, I just did it based on what we spent so far. And took it times 2.
I would be a little bit cautious with that.
Okay.
Not thinking that we need to go back to 10,000. What do you guys think? I mean, even if you cut it in half or 2,500, again, I want to be realistic
Right, I get it.
because it doesn't do us any good to budget 1,300 and plan on spending 5.
yeah, I mean, I'd like to see the budget account for what we,
You know,
are likely gonna need.
can we say that we don't have anything that's planning on coming up in the next year? I hate to say that out loud.
No, it's hard to know, right?
Yeah.
That won't happen, unfortunately. I think you're still gonna have people that,
Want to do something.
Can
And
you
like,
look at what you spent last year?
well, so far this year we spent $975.
So I wonder, like last year.
yeah, what
What
did,
about the previous year, yeah?
Right. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
You know,
I just think that's a huge cut.
it's a huge cut, but yet we're nowhere near on pace for 10,000.
Right, I agree with
Right.
that,
You know, cut it in half and evaluate in the next budget year,
right?
cut it 4,000 and
we
look at it.
spent, so in last fiscal year, we spent, almost $2,100.
2,100, so,
Here's my problem with budgets, as we sit here and we look at this, we're gonna give that a gold star because you budgeted 10, you only spent 1,000.
Right.
Oh, man, that, whatever you did there, do it again. Well, did that 10 grand just? You know, I think that's where we need to put something, so we look back each year and say, okay, hey, we can shrink that, or no, we shouldn't have shrunk it that much, it should have went back, but I'm like you, I don't know if 1,300 is a safe number.
I think that's.
what was the number for the previous year?
We spent almost $2,100 last fiscal year.
So
So,
maybe
25.
2,500.
I think
Yeah.
2,500 is a safe number.
2,300 there.
I mean, I'm okay with it. Like I said, I just want it to be realistic
Right.
I understand.
and
Yep.
not under budget, even
Right.
though.
okay,
What about other professional services? What are those?
Um,
Yeah, if we've already spent 700 and you're only putting 500 in.
Yeah,
That I'm not
okay.
I was really green if you guys. You just hanging out. Great to say during budget time in a recorded session.
Yeah, in a recorded session there.
Good point.
Overtime, right?
Oh, gosh, no, that is,
Holiday, I'm getting trip time.
Thought I heard that.
I'll just go home early in an hour tomorrow.
well, and you're actually not off until 5, right? Okay. So, what we spent this year, for other professional service was annexation. I will say that I don't know if that will happen again next.
It was
fiscal
for
year.
annexation.
It's for the annexation, for recording those.
Got
So,
What can we
I
add?
mean, maybe, but I don't,
Let's be safe and maybe use 1,000.
That's what I was
Okay.
thinking.
Okay,
We'll
we'll see how this,
Council.
Yep.
Give you all a raise. Everybody gets a raise.
we did that this year.
My passion would be that we cut that somehow.
I agree. Let's take it next.
That's gonna have to be an ordinance
but you
change. though.
cannot, you can't do it
Really.
Yeah, right.
until,
Can we write a check back?
No,
You could give a donation. to the city
absolutely.
and
How's
take it
that?
back.
Okay,
How's that
you
work?
started to say we cannot do it until,
So you
just write a
could
check to the
cut,
city a bunch of
you could
donation.
cut your
And that would go to
wages,
general.
but it wouldn't go into effect until
You can
after
designate it.
the next election.
Donation to general fund.
oh, which is,
This
year,
year?
This fall.
2025. So it wouldn't go into effect until 1/1 of 2026.
so the other part of this that we've discussed hot, long and hard about this is Matt's been written in twice. Again, it's not about the money. I don't expect us to get a 3% raise or any other raise that goes with this. But I put a hell of a lot of time into this and this year I made $1,000. You know, so it's not like any of us are raking in gazillions of dollars here by any means.
true.
And again, if we have to put it on the board, I say, look at it, but you also gotta get somebody to run.
Right, that's the thing is that you can't,
Is anybody gonna run for $1,000?
Are they gonna run for 500? No, they're not gonna run for any of it, but.
Yeah.
You gotta be able to compensate somebody some way.
I mean,
I agree.
if we can just donate back or
And
something.
if you can give it directly to the library or whatever the case you wanna do.
There you go.
absolutely.
I ain't got,
mean, you
hey, I
can-
found more
that's-
money for it.
I mean, if that's what you wanna do, once it is in your account, I have no say. on
There
what
was
you do with it.
There was a former Waterloo council person who made a big deal and had news cameras every time she donated her quarterly salary to somebody,
Oh,
so
wow.
There you go.
call Ron. please. So that's up to you guys,
Well, we can't change it,
Right, you can't change it. I mean, you
Yeah.
could change
you
it.
can, but it's not gonna affect
yeah.
this fiscal
It
year.
won't affect you this year.
and we gotta get it voted through.
Right.
Hey,
So-
if I could get my city or property taxes paid, I'd run a lot of years.
I agree, let's do it, I'd stay on if you could do that. That's a hell of a lot more than $1,000 I'm getting around here.
All right, on to the next.
So, we're good with mayor and council?
Yeah.
Okay,
620, right?
620 is, city clerk. Nope, group let's see. Yep, city
620 is
clerk.
group
so,
insurance.
yep,
No, it's city clerk.
Oh, okay.
Office of City. Clerk,
Yep.
So, I'll,
So this is 80% wage here, or is this less than 80% when it was 20% to?
there is like 10% of it would be, 60%. Because part of mine and Michelle's wages go into water and sewer because of utility billing.
Okay.
Okay.
I was adding in my head, it didn't make sense.
That wasn't mathing.
Well, even though my math teacher was our
So the big thing, that I cut was, development and training. This would include any training for a deputy clerk, to become certified. That obviously is not happening. And then this would include, all of my certification.
So 7,500 is still a lot.
Yeah.
We've spent so far 2,000,
Mhm.
7,500.
I can tell you what we spent. last year. Okay, it's not as much as what I thought it was. So I spent $1,700 last year.
Total? But is that mileage or not?
That's not,
That's not mileage.
that's not travel and stuff, right?
There's no way, because you've done more hotel rooms than that.
Um. That is mileage and. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I looked at the wrong line. I did 13,000 last year.
Okay. I personally, and you guys can tell me wrong here. I don't know how much of this is required certification and how much of it is conferences, networking, things like that. My department of 21 people has a budget of $5,000 for our entire travel for this year. I would urge you, I recommend where we're at with this budget, looking at that very harshly.
Okay.
I get we need to maintain certifications. I get all that. So we've got to do the required ones. But again, are there options for us to be able to zoom into any of that? Are there options for us to do a 1 day instead of a 2 day, whatever the case may be? If it were me personally, I would say 3,000 or 4,000 and cut it out at that. But that's just me. I know there's other things involved. But we do have to, like I said, I want to make sure we retain certifications. But that's a big budget item when we only have one person that's gonna be working here for a while. And City Hall, the staff, as well as budget crunch with it and the optics that we're looking at as well.
It would be good to have a better idea of what the required ones would involve cost wise.
Sure.
I'm also wondering about dues and memberships and, why, that's only been 50 so far this year,
Because. the
Most
dues
things
and
are priced.
memberships,
or due
they're
later.
usually due like in April.
Okay,
Um,
you don't have to give me too many specifics.
I know you had also brought up potentially looking at a request for travel,
If we want to go to
so
that type.
that could be something that comes as a council request.
Okay.
That here's a conference I want to attend.
Mhm.
Here's where I'm at in my budget.
This is what registration's gonna be, this is what's going to
Travel's
be
gonna be overnight, whatever the
mileage
case
or,
may be.
yeah.
Well, and I
Would
think it'd be good for us to know, here's a conference I have to attend for this certification.
Correct.
So we know that too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Do
important.
you want us doing that with water sewer?
Yes.
certification?
Yeah, I think.
But, and that's something,
If it's implemented for one, I think
Right.
it's implemented for all.
Right.
I agree.
We make this, like for us, we've got some day classes we can go to, but it's no expense from the city minus.
Wages.
Just the wages and travel.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
it's just pretty much
that's
the
good.
travel,
And most
Which
of,
the travel will take a city pickup.
right.
So is that something for just an overnight class, or does this need to be every single class we go to?
I would say,
Because we go to monthly safety classes too down in Traer.
I think it'd be good for us to know what you're doing, Jake, so we can justify it back out.
Mhm.
That's my opinion, that we know,
even if it's public works meetings,
right.
that you guys are having that on the
Yeah.
agenda to
being
discuss, this
presented
is
at the meeting.
I've said this for years, Jake, too, and I said it before when John was here, and we kind of have dropped the ball on it. I would love for you, just like police department has to do a monthly summary. Here's what happened, so that it's in the packet. Here's what, the hours spent on everything, here's what we got accomplished, and then that goes back out to the citizens to be able to say, look at everything they did. Because you can't tell me, I don't want to tell you how many times I've heard, I haven't seen a city truck in 4 days. Well, they're doing something, you know what I mean?
I urge you to tell anybody who gives you that response to come down to our shop.
Agreed,
Yeah.
again, but it's a taxpayer coming to a council person asking that and me having to say, come on, you know they're doing something, you know, I'm not that worried about it, I'm not gonna pick them.
And this request for travel is something that we've gotta discuss more. It's not
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
Right.
I'm not saying we're gonna go with the same practice that we have right now. We'll just take a look at it.
We just need to make sure that we're keeping, you know, the council apprised of everything going on too.
Well, and it helps us to be able to sit here and, you know, Chrissy asks, I'm just gonna pick on you for a second, you know, you asked for 10,000 next year for travel expenses and development and training. If we can look back for the last 2 years or 3 years and say, wow, she's done all this, it makes sense and we have to. Or right now, we're looking at a blank piece of paper and saying,
Well,
So I think-
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a no.
it'd be helpful for police department, all of us,
Yep, so what do you wanna cut it to, 3,000?
on the development training.
I mean, I,
Well, why don't you take a look and see what you absolutely need to? And then,
yeah, I think it's an option. I think there's a spot available for some
Yeah.
discussion there.
Yep.
It's just a big dollar amount that we have to justify right now. We don't have any
Okay.
choice in an election, do we?
nope, and I think legal, we're
Yeah.
good where we're at. So the next then is City Hall. Do you think we're gonna have that big of maintenance? Considering all the updates we've done, or
55,000.
is that include utility? Oh, no, utilities is separate.
Is the 55 including updating everything up here? Is that kind of where why that's so high right now? Cause we only budgeted
Yeah,
30 and we
some-
spent 55 something so far. And we have to add another 120 to that? Is that right?
No, more like 160.
I thought it was 100, or was it 180? Wasn't it 120 and then 60 more?
Yeah, it's 100, I think
Yeah.
it's 180.
The two, the 43 and then the other.
So that comes to like
I
180 or
think
so,
so, yeah.
which will go on top of this 55, right?
No, no.
No, because some of that's part of,
That's coming up.
yeah, some of that is,
There isn't anything that's coming.
That's down further. Okay. But some of it will come out of there, I'm guessing? No, none of it?
okay.
One thing with, I will say with the city, I can leave it. Next fiscal year, we're gonna need to look at doing thing with this retaining wall out here because we're having drainage issues. And it's been back. D and G.
Okay.
So do you think the 30 should stay? I mean, cause drainage,
I
or
wouldn't cut it below 20.
retention walls are not cheap.
No, they're not cheap.
I wouldn't cut it below 20.
Is there an option to do other than that stonework retention wall like that? Cause you know, those all shift and move with everything all the time.
That whole wall's gonna stay, it's just, we gotta get the water to get redirected away from the building. So we're gonna have to put like a stub wall in or potentially raise that wall or do something different.
Okay.
Yeah, I just know from lake stuff that,
I mean, the
Those damn
cheapest
retention
would
walls
be board walls, but I don't know, that might not even be cheaper, but that'd be more permanent than like a
Yeah.
rock wall.
Okay, with what we still have to go through, it's getting, I know Lori's got to leave. Are we pretty well through the, like the most,
well, let's say what, okay, so daily general government we still have,
yep,
and there's not a whole lot in that that we can really
No.
do.
Yeah, I met with Carrie Brown today for our property insurance, which is, like that would be our auto.
Okay.
Yeah, it's both auto and there's another item that it comes out, but anyway, so our work comp and other insurance is going up 6 to 9%. They're not really sure yet.
That's a pretty good
and
increase if that's all we get.
how much?
Our 6 to 9%, they're not exactly sure. And then our health insurance probably will go up 6 or 7%.
There's nothing you can do about that.
Well, we
Yeah.
just got our, Prairie just got our, mutual updates and 9.82,
You shopped those ever?
pardon?
Or shopped those?
Yeah,
Shop ours?
last year, because we got canceled. My brother had reached out. to
Dave just
Indiana.
today
Already
Pulled
talked
out of
about.
the whole state.
left State Farm
The-
after
Welcome to my life.
many
I
Yeah,
don't like
we
shopping
shop
more than any-
the health insurance, we shop every year.
What about the, property insurance and everything?
Yep,
Past carry or just with them?
no, pass carry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Okay.
will check out the video
Thanks, Lori.
probably in the next week or so.
Yeah, I should have it up tomorrow.
Thanks, Lori.
Yep, thank you.
Okay,
See you, grandma.
so,
Bye, Grandma.
Yeah, so so general government, a lot of these were, I cut what I could.
okay,
But some of them I can't.
Right.
I cut as much as I could.
Telephone, are we on VPN for telephone stuff?
Yeah.
I've always wondered, the telephones here, does that include city police department telephones?
Yep.
I've always wondered, is there a way, and again, this is nickel and diming. We pay for the SIM cards for police cars through Verizon and we pay for cell phones through here. Have we looked in the last, I don't know, since I've been here of combining those things again? When's the last time we had like a cellular overlook at?
That was.
We did it a few years ago.
Yeah.
3 years ago.
Okay. Again, something that we may wanna look at because we get, I get complacent on, well, that's the way it's been for whatever, so we have to leave it that way. So it's a good thing to to look at. What?
I'm ahead of you on that one.
Thank you.
I got a quote from T-Mobile, so, something like that.
How's T-Mobile service though? That's the other part to
Well,
look at.
they bought US Cellular, so
They did?
eventually US Cellular will be. T-Mobile.
But is your package including theirs and everybody else?
It's
Just the BD.
See, that's what I mean. Is there a better deal to package all of them? Because that doesn't, it makes sense, family planish.
yeah, and,
You know?
obviously, yeah, we haven't done it for a while, so it's a
Put it
good
on
thing
the
to-
board.
on our to-do, yep. To-do list, so, okay.
So that was, yes, ma'am.
For the planning department, do they, have cell phones also?
Yeah,
Yep.
they're on the city plan.
Are they, so?
So they would be included, yep, absolutely.
Yeah, no, please, thank you.
Yep.
So wait, that was, what the phone number am I on? That was,
So we're on the top of page 17. This is all revenue. It's all of our property taxes. So
do we have 919 coming in for property tax? Is that realistic for next year?
yes, yeah, that's based on the certification page from the
Okay.
state.
Thank you,
And it's based on your millage rate for, property taxes.
thank you. And again, there's not a whole lot we can do with that.
Right.
No, there isn't much we can. I don't think we've got ourselves,
It's tip increasing 3% here.
It
It's 1,462 last year.
is,
18, right?
that is going to. $1,200,000.
Where's that at on here?
that's on page 819.
Thank you, transfer and tip.
Yeah, it's all based on, those are based on, this is just based on estimates that I get from the county,
Okay.
but 9 times out of 10, it's more,
Yeah.
but I don't budget that way.
Okay.
Okay, so, road use tax. That's just, an estimate based on what I got from the state. So Yeah.
Bond proceeds, 950,4820. Has got in this revenue total 1.235. What is that number?
what are you on?
001 950 4820.
4820.
Says bond proceeds 1,235,000.
You're on 001? What page are you on?
17.
I'm not on the right page. Um, 001,
Bond proceeds 950 4820.
Towards the bottom of that, page 17.
so what are you talking about, the 1,000,002?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the total revenue
Of what?
of the the 001 category, that, so page 17, that's the.
Oh,
that's
all those.
That's the total of all of those,
Okay, so that
Property
is,
tax,
that's your property
that's the
taxes.
919 plus the 15 plus the 3181,
Yep.
Mhm.
all the way down.
Yep.
Yep.
and that makes 1.2.
Yes. Cause this is all revenue, this is, there's no expenses. out.
Why is that under bond proceeds then? Just,
That's
It's just the
just
way
my
that,
question for it. 'cause I need to
That's just the
understand.
revenue total, there, it is, it's not, it's
She's
not.
wondering the wording. Why
Yeah.
is it worded?
Why is it worded under bond proceeds
Well,
in that line?
it says revenue total at the top of the thing, if you,
Yeah, but it's still in this line. Why is
Well,
it- is
That's
that-
just because that's where, that's
you
where I
could put
stuck
it
the
down.
formula.
Okay,
That's
thank
just where I
you.
took stuck the formula,
I-
I'm sorry.
So me looking at a spreadsheet, it has to go all the way across too, has to be the same number.
So-
So I don't, I didn't understand why.
I
so
I
maybe
thought we
if
were
you
getting
took
a
it down one line and put the formula in that.
Or at the bottom.
I could have put it at the bottom.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, that, okay. To me, this looks like we're getting a bond of
Oh, no, no,
$1.23 million.
No.
No,
Okay,
no,
There yet.
Okay.
so,
so you got what I was laying down here. Thank you.
Just a guess.
Yes, well, I'm not, very hard to guess sometimes.
Okay,
Thank you.
is there anything else that, I mean, we're just looking kind of at expenses?
yeah, the only other thing as far as expenses go, your bond payments are gonna be the bond payments, that's based on the schedule.
Right?
So that's the 202. Your capital projects are 305, you 316, that's page 22 and 23. The only capital projects, the only capital project that we're looking at doing, is the wetland project. North of where the Marion Lane development, but we have a grant and a state loan that we are getting for that, so it's in and out.
At
So-
0%,
It's 0%.
0% for 20 years. We
Wait.
just have a,
0% interest? We
Yes.
don't pay anything.
no, we pay an upfront service fee.
Okay, so how much do we pay out for that?
I think it's going to be what, was it 195?
I think it's like 180 or 180.
And then it's just a percentage like 10-15%.
Okay, hold on. Let me get this.
Who's that from?
It's from
The
the state,
state,
state revolving fund.
Okay, so we have to pay out $185,000.
yes, for our portion of the project,
We pay out 185,000
right?
and then
And then, so for that loan, wasn't it like
I thought it was a grant, not a loan.
Yeah, so we have
The
we have
other
a
part-
grant and a loan to cover
Right.
all of those expenses.
our portion? We didn't get a grant for 100%. It's like the gaming commission, you gotta
Right, no,
come up
that's
with.
fine, but
Yeah.
Yeah, so the 185,000 that the grant is not covering, we got a loan for,
from
the
who? From the state.
from the state, yeah.
So we pay that over how many years?
20 years,
Okay, so we pay about $9,000 a year. Is that right?
Roughly, yes.
I mean, just my math in my
Right.
head.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm just trying to get down to the bottom number of what we're gonna pay out
we
every
have
year
an
on this.
upfront service fee though.
Okay,
Yeah,
So,
and I
and,
don't remember what that is.
and I can't remember either. It was like
It-
10 or 15%, so it'd be like $1,800.
so another $2,000, 2,500.
Yeah.
On there
Yeah.
somewhere. Okay, so we've still got, then we pay out, let's say, $10,000 a year. Over 20, every year for 20 years, correct? Is
Mhm.
that where am I
Yep.
picking up what you're putting down?
Yep.
Rock on, thank you.
And then.
And where's that, sorry, where's that at on here?
That's on the bottom of page 22, it's on the 314. section.
Contractual,
Mhm.
so that's. Thanks for
Thanks,
coming.
George.
So that's 456,800. So what's the 456,800 for, and where's the $10,000 show that we'll have to pay out for that?
That doesn't show anywhere yet because we won't have to pay it for.
24, 25?
We'll
25.
pay
25,
it
20.
in 26, 27.
Okay, So will be approximately.
Right.
Correct.
10K in 25 to 26, right?
Mhm.
Or do we have to pay the 185 upfront?
No.
That's the loan. Got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Move on.
We don't have to pay
Okay.
anything upfront. And so then the only other section is your enterprise funds or your utility funds, so that's water, sewer,
We will have Butterfield Road Bridge, or not bridge, bridge,
the bridge, but that's all federal funding and we don't have to.
except for engineering.
Oh, yeah, which that is coming out of. Public works right now.
So
I
show,
don't
where
remember.
on here is that in? Cause how much is the engineering for that approximately?
I'd have to look at our estimate. Usually it's a percentage of what the overall project is. I wanna say usually it's 20% of what the project is.
And that's a big
Project's
project.
Right under $500,000. So you're looking probably around $80,000 in engineering. 70.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's under contractual, so the 315,895.
Hold on.
Stop at 23.
That's,
23, 7, okay.
that's any. Or the planning.
But we're thinking there's gonna be 80,000 there.
Well, we've already paid some of them too.
Okay? Again,
Or maybe this is what. It's gonna be spread out between a few years because the project isn't gonna be happening in this fiscal year. There'll be some. I think that bridge is supposed to happen in 25, 26, but I'd have to.
which
check-
is this budget then.
I'd have to check with Mark.
So we may have another 80,000 that needs to go in that as an
Well,
expense.
We have a sheet that says how much, let me see if I can put it up.
I just don't wanna miss 80,000 out of a budget and then be like, oh shit, now we've gotta figure out that 80,000 somewhere, right?
Well, and capital projects, you are allowed, on the capital projects, you're allowed to not budget anything because you don't necessarily know what they're going to be.
We still have to spend it.
Well, right, yes, you still have to spend it.
So we have to budget it somehow. Or, is that, we need to list that in the capital projects, that's a potential for Maggie too. As upcoming projects, cause can we bond for that rather than spending it out of what we've got
Oh,
to be able to do that, you know what I mean?
Yep.
That she needs to know those totals
Yep.
coming up. Because even if we bond for it now, and even if it doesn't hit in this fiscal year, we've got it there and it has to be separated out of operating expense.
Which I sent some information to her today.
I saw that.
Yeah. And that should be part of
I
that.
don't think it was.
The treasurer's report should have all of that stuff,
Well, will you make sure that
but I
you,
will
yeah.
double check.
and send her, I would send an updated email to that whole email train to say this is a upcoming, not a past 12 to 18 months, because she wanted past 12 to 18
Yep,
months.
oh, yeah, and didn't do future, but.
So
yep,
we
I
need
can do
to,
that.
we need to also give her what's future 12 to 18 months, I would say, so that we can look ahead to this,
Yep.
because we don't want to get back to where we're at.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep,
Okay,
okay.
thank you.
I can
Add
let
that to
you know.
the
Yep, I will.
ever-growing list.
Yep, I will add that to the list.
Well,
So, yeah.
Okay.
we'll have to look.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Do we need to look at water totals? Is that just pretty much a,
It's a wash.
okay,
I mean, we're making some money on water.
Yep, yep.
But sending it on
We,
update.
we'll,
okay,
if we have anything, it's typically anything that's left over. It just gets run out. For later. So
same with sewer and
same
everything,
with sewer.
Okay.
Same with stormwater.
okay. I think we're there.
I did have a question on one of these. Oh, bike trail. First of all, can we be done with this freaking bike trail ever?
We will.
Second of all, okay, so we have a revenue of this of 574,671. And an outgoing expense for this of 456,800, projecting a positive amount of 117,871. So you're saying to me that we, next year, between 25 and 26, somebody's gonna give us a check for $117,871?
No.
Okay, then can you explain this?
So the revenue, is, so the revenue would be the grant and the loan that we got for so this is total for the capital projects, total revenue.
Okay,
So this would be the grant and the loan plus, 100,000 that's transferred in to the phase 2 bike trail, from local option. And so then, but we're only spending 456,000 because that is the, wetland project.
but why is that in bike trail then?
That's revenue total.
Same thing we ran into last time, that's just where our totals added up.
Project totals.
Project.
That's just, yeah, that's
Okay.
capital projects. total.
Okay. So the bike trail here, the proposed budget is 100,000.
Yeah, that's just a revenue. That's just a transfer in from local option.
So how much do we owe? We owe the 120,397 still? Or that's obviously just in project total, sorry. Do we owe any money on this bike trail anymore?
We don't. We're not paying anything on the bike trail. Is
Do
that what
we
you're
owe
asking?
any money? No, I wanna know, do we owe any money to any contractor on this
No,
bike trail as
no.
of right now?
No,
Do we have any additional money that's coming in as a grant or as anything else? So the bike trail is technically zeroed out. Done,
yeah, it's closed out. The project is closed out.
okay. So why is this, and this just, again, my confusion, why is this on here? Why are we transferring in or expended through 2024? Why is there a proposed budget of transferred in under phase 2 bike trail for $100,000?
Isn't that the total for all project totals?
No, the 100,000 is just for the bike trail. That is to pay down the cash balance that we have.
The 120,397 and 22 cents,
That's the total for all
all the projects.
the projects.
Okay,
But why, this isn't making sense to me. Okay, so layman's turn here for me. We don't owe anybody any money,
Correct.
but we're transferring in 100,000. Explain that.
To eliminate the cash, the balance that's on our reports.
It still doesn't, am I crazy? I don't get it. I don't get it.
So
Sorry, I just don't get it.
so we have a negative balance on that project. We don't owe anyone, but we have a negative balance.
So we owe ourselves for it.
Correct.
So we do owe on it, but we owe ourselves on paper. How much do we owe the negative balance on it?
The negative balance is.
I was not good at accounting, so this is,
No.
so sorry for this, but
No, that's okay. Let me pull up the.
I've got to.
see,
Mhm.
I do too, but I'm still holding strong.
And I've gotta be somewhere at 6
Okay.
out of town.
So, phase 2, would owe ourselves 446,000.
So we still owe $446,000 to ourselves on paper for this project.
Correct.
And is that 446 in the list that you sent me?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I wanna know that whole amount, because again, it's the same thing. We should have been looking at bonding some of this.
Mhm.
You know, we absolutely should. I didn't know that should have, but didn't, so. Okay, perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry for my naivete
Nope.
too. I'm just trying to understand
fine.
everything.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
This negative, when you put money in, did you use it for something else to spend, or was it spending on the bike trail?
It was spending on the bike trail.
Where'd the money come from if you didn't have it?
It came from the operating funds.
Okay.
In the
I'm
operate,
naive
yeah,
too.
yeah, thank you. Tell me if I'm right here.
Yep.
Okay, we spent it out of operating funds, but in the budget on paper, we showed that we only spent 100,000, but we actually spent 500,000.
Over
And
the
now
course
we're
of-
putting back in every year to make that up back into those operating funds.
Where do you get the money to put 100,000 in that?
Technically, everything is in one account. So like where your reserves are, that's all in this account. So we may have spent that reserve money, but as it goes in paper, we pay that back into that account, correct? Am I crazy? No, okay.
No, that's correct.
Does that make sense? I'm finally starting to catch on. 12 years later and I'm finally starting to catch on. And I'm not coming back. Okay, thank you for the question
Yeah.
too. Okay, rock
Okay.
on.
Anything else?
Oh,
Anybody else got any?
I will work on updating all of this and hopefully have it out to you in the next couple of days.
And
because we'll have to set a
we-
public hearing on Monday for our property tax levy.
So did we get there? Did we get black?
I think so.
Can we give the library more money?
Well, not yet.
I was just gonna,
I don't know. I don't know.
I
so,
heard
and if somebody wants a copy of this, once you mail it out, and
Yeah, once.
to
if-
print
I'll
so you
email
can-
Out, but if you want a printed copy. on
just
paper,
let you know, and they can stop in and pick one up.
So
Okay,
you'll have this done.
Mhm.
Will it be on agenda for Monday night?
Yes, it can be.
Does it have to be?
No, it doesn't have to be. The only thing that we're doing on Monday night is setting a public hearing for our property tax levy because that has to be to the county no later than the 5th of March.
Which we pretty much already know that we're
Which, yeah,
just,
we know.
we're
Yeah,
not
but we still
having a-
have to- but we
we're not
still have to
increasing
set a-
property tax.
Right, we still have to set a public hearing for it.
Right.
right.
But yeah, no, this won't actually be on the agenda until
What's the latest this can be on the agenda?
it won't go on the agenda until the second meeting of March.
And I don't know about you, but I'd be more comfortable is once we get this again from Chrissy, that we
Oh,
have another work
100%.
session.
Yeah,
Yeah.
another work session. go through it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
there may still be some tweaks that we wanna do and say,
Right,
okay,
right.
you know, again, y'all may lose, $300,000 more. And you may get all 300,000.
We wanna be good neighbors.
Oh.
Okay,
So
so,
then do you, on Monday night, then do you wanna just have like we did before, where we set up a work session again?
I would say so, don't you?
yeah, do you think Matt's done with
Well, no,
basketball?
they'll set it for something,
Unless they're gonna be state, they want championships,
yeah.
I know.
I would think
I
a
thought
Monday
he
at
was
3
done.
o'clock again would probably work.
Or some other time.
Chrissy, can we do a Monday at 3 o'clock again? Because that seemed to work for Matt.
Yeah, that's completely fine, and I think
Is
with,
that okay with you?
I
The
think with
Monday
basketball,
following,
Yeah.
yeah. Cause I don't think I'll be here Monday night. I think I'm in International Falls. I know,
doesn't mean you can't zoom in if you
I can
can.
zoom in. It's just trying to do this on Zoom, so.
Oh, yeah. no,
Oh,
I
God,
understand that. But yeah.
But if we did it the next Monday.
Yeah,
that
we
would
can,
be Perfect.
we can talk about that on
Aren't you
Monday.
supposed to go there in the summer?
Right.
I was supposed to,
Time
go
to
backward,
go.
but I'd like to
It
see,
just sounds really cool.
see some more snow.
All right.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second,
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I.
Opposed?
Chief, will you stick
We are
with us for 1
adjourned.
minute?